What is going on, Papa Fam? Welcome to day 2 of the Airbnb 5-day React Next.js challenge. It's been sick. We've been having a lot of fun. And today we're going to be building out Airbnb, the entire front end. So it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Let me know where you guys are watching from right now. Let's get the energy up in this place. We literally have hundreds of people watching already. I love it. Honestly, this is the biggest challenge we've ever done. Let's do this, guys. Let me know where you're watching from right now. And let's get this energy up. Welcome to day 2 of the ultimate 5-day challenge. Let's do this, guys. We've got Algeria, Canada, India, US, Poland, Algeria, Bangladesh, Mexico, Jordan. Whoa, let's go. Germany. Welcome to day 2, guys. Let's kick it. Oh my God, I love seeing that every single time. It gets my energy through the roof. Chile, Cote d'Ivoire, Switzerland, Republica, Dominicans in the house, Vietnam, Indonesia, Romania, Germany, Kenya. Wow, Lebanon. Wow, look at that hype, guys. That is absolutely incredible. Welcome to day 2 of the challenge. Today we are going to be building this. Let me go ahead and give you a little quick demo of what we're actually going to be building. We're going to build this today, guys. The Airbnb front end. ReactJS, NextJS, Tailwind CSS is going to be fully responsive. This thing is sick. Look at the animations across here. Lots of fun stuff to come your way, guys. It's going to be completely responsive. Look at that. Oh, completely changes it. We're using Flexbox. We are using CSS Grid. You're going to learn all of that today. And then we're going to deploy it to Versal, so that way you guys can go ahead and submit your day 2 homework. We're going to jump into today's training right now, guys. Prepare yourselves and smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And let's go ahead and kick off today's training, guys. Welcome to day 2. Are you excited? Let me know. Type "I'm ready for day 2" in the comments right now if you are ready to go ahead and build out the Airbnb clone. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And yeah, if you haven't reserved your spot already, do it now. The link is in the description. It's links.papareact.com/challenge. And make sure you've signed up. You're going to get all the notifications, all the emails, everything that you need is going to be sent your way if you go ahead and sign up at that link right now if you haven't already. Look at this. We've got everyone jumping in. We've got Zamil, we've got Natasha, we've got William, we've got Abhishek, we've got KB, we've got Aman, we've got Darwin, RSK, Sergio. If I shouted you guys out, get ready for this one. Wow, look at the viewers flooding in, guys. I love this. I love seeing that number just fly up. It's like a rocket taking off. Join the official Papa Fam Discord server if you haven't already, by the way. This is where you can go ahead, get a bunch of help. You can go ahead and ask a bunch of questions. You're not alone in this challenge. Remember that, right? You've got loads of people who are hyped, ready to change their life, and they're doing it right now inside that server. And guys, this is all happening in the Facebook Papa Fam group. Okay, so it's literally going to be the 4th link in the description. Make sure you sign up, right? So all you need to do is go ahead and click that link, and then you'll literally get an invite into the Facebook group. Answer a couple of questions, and then I'll approve your entry. So I'm approving every couple of minutes. It's super quick, right? You can go ahead and join it. We have all the homework, assignments, videos. Right now I'm actually streaming to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So all of those platforms are going to have this video on. So you guys are going to have a ton of places to go ahead and grab it from afterwards. That's not a problem at all. Okay. Share and use Papa Challenge to go ahead and increase your chances of winning the grand prize. This is a social media event. So as you know, go ahead and share it out, and it's going to help you, it's going to help spread the positivity and get more people inside this challenge. Plus you're going to get bonus points for doing so. Okay. If you guys are enjoying this music, the newsletter, you're going to get the playlist. It's so sick. And guys, remember, don't forget to show up on day 5. This is the grand finale, and it's going to be August 8th, where we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a free ebook as well as a full training. It's going to be sick, right? I'm going to go ahead and I've been preparing it for a while now. It's a complete training to go ahead and crush it as a developer. We're going to run through React, state props, all that stuff in depth. I'm going to break it down so it's super easy for any beginner to understand. And yeah, I'm going to show you how you can go ahead and take those skills and level it up. And you get this free ebook, which is going to be a massive JavaScript cheat sheet. And we're going to do the Ultimate Developer Workshop. So you have to go ahead and sign up. First link in the description to the final day And that's where this is going to happen, right? You're going to have to show up to get that ebook. Because I put a lot of work into that thing, man. I want everyone to, go ahead and appreciate it. So we're going to learn all of this today. React, Next.js. So we're actually going to be doing some server-side rendering, which is pretty damn sick, right? We've got Tailwind CSS. If those guys are watching, again, you guys are sick. I really do appreciate and love those guys. And the Versal deployment. So that's how we host a Next.js app. And remember, don't worry if you're a beginner, I'm going to break it all down. You can literally follow along with me today and it will all, just take your time and you'll be able to get this done. Right. Who's ready to code the front end build? Just type in yes if you're ready. It's going to be damn fun. But before we get started with that, it's time to focus. I want the game faces on. Again, do not disturb. Put your phones away. The world can wait for a couple of hours while you're coding and you're getting in that flow state, okay? We're going to go over a couple of reminders before we get into the coding part today. Look at the bloody comments. Wow. Oh my God. That's insane, guys. Thank you so much for that positivity. We literally have over, oh my God, we got 400 plus viewers tuning in right now. Let's get the numbers up. JM, nice. He's the winner of the last challenge. What's up, dude? Let's carry on. Reminder for today, we're building the front end build. Looks pretty damn nice, right? Looks really, really nice. The day agenda for today. I'm going to review the best portfolios. So if you get reviewed and your portfolio comes on the screen today, give yourself a massive shout out and know that you just won 10 bonus points. So any portfolio that comes on the screen, you're going to get 10 bonus points. We're going to go ahead and review the best because you guys pulled through. We're going to build that front end that I showed you, that beautiful front end. Then we're going to push it. You're going to deploy it to Versal and then you're going to get a URL. Now we're going to take that URL and use it for your homework submission. Okay, so same setup as yesterday. We're going to go ahead and push our homework because our homework is what wins this challenge. And then, as you know, you're going to get those points, right? So you have to be a part of the Facebook group to grab the points. Number one, you get 1 point for sending a message on any of the platforms. 2 points for tagging me and using the hashtag Papa Challenge on any social media platform. Again, you guys were sick. If you saw my Instagram, I actually restoried a couple of you. Do it again, pull out your phone, throw it on social media. It's been a lot of fun to go ahead and see that. So we're going to do that again. 3 points for helping someone out with their homework. You got to show proof in the homework Facebook group. So screenshot it and just say that's enough, right? Screenshot it and that's enough to go ahead and get the points. 4 to refer someone. And remember, if you refer someone, they're going to win the prize as well as you. And then 5 points for every single homework submission. Okay, diamond mentorship for winner 1, platinum memberships for the second place, and then 50% off for the third place. So get those points in. Link 2 is your homework for today in the description. Okay, so after we wrap up, link 2 is where you're gonna find how you can submit all your homework and get this show on the road. Okay, homework submission again, it's all available in guides on the Facebook group. So just click that, you get all the links inside. Let's go through your day 1 personalized resume work. Did you guys enjoy did you enjoy the craziness that we had yesterday, right? Them beautiful personalized resumes. Let me know. This was the instructions for yesterday. You just had to customize a simple JSON file and then you hosted it on Netlify, which was literally a drag and drop operation. You submit the link to that homework page and then boom, it's done. And don't worry, if you haven't done it already, then feel free to go ahead and submit it today, any day up until the 5th day, and then you're gonna get those points. So do not worry, guys. I've got your back. 300 plus people actually pulled through. That blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. We actually had 300 plus submissions. Can you believe that, guys? That's insane. I said to Jay, I was like, I think we're gonna get maybe 150, 200, but 300 plus, that's just sick. I can see you guys enjoying all of that good stuff. There are some insane portfolios. We're gonna go ahead and showcase them right now. So we're gonna check out some of them, right? Santiago Garcia. I love this one. It's like a Galaxy kind of vibe. Right, straight away I thought of the Galaxy phone when I saw this. Joffrey, I like this. He's got like the old school retro arcadey thing going on, but I love the little planet that he's got going on here. It just looks clean, right? I'm all about clean. Tambo went for that kind of that Jeff Bezos vibe, right? In space sitting there. Marty, I love this one. This was actually a pretty sick effect in the background, and he went for some glass morphism, right? I appreciate that. That's awesome. Martin Velkov, this was slick. That's just clean. It's like a very flat UI, which I really liked. Felix, I like this because you went ahead and took it and changed up the design. So I always appreciate that. Hence why you are featured, my friend. Luke crushes it as always. Luke's an awesome diamond member of the Papa Fam. So he's just playing for fun at this point, killing it. And Rudy Duran, amazing stuff. Now, The girls came in clutch as well, guys. You guys crushed it. And I want to go ahead and highlight you guys. So we had 2 amazing submissions from Ria. So this was actually an awesome portfolio. And Monique. Guys, look at the background from Monique's. It's sick. I really think that is an awesome front end background. It's like the color is popping off the screen, right? It's just that, I don't know where you got that from, but that is such a wicked picture. So awesome stuff, guys. 10 points. These are the worthy mentions. So everyone who I mentioned before, you also will get 10 points. But I really want to show off a few of these. Number 1, Rosen. Oh my God, Rosen, your one was sick. Look at this, guys. This has to be the best portfolio I think I've ever seen. Look how incredible that is. This is sick, guys. Look, you can click on the different tabs and he's got a picture of himself and he's got like his details. He's got everything going on. So look, I'm going to give him a shout out here. He's got a couple of projects. He's got his GitHub. And look at this, guys. It's literally like a VS Code. It's so sick. And this is probably using, yep, Next.js. I thought so. Awesome stuff, dude. Next.js. You got the main branch. You got all of these little things. Oh, that is sick. That is so sick. I dude, like, I'm gonna give you 20 points for that one because that is the best I've ever seen, which is incredible, man. So honestly, massive shout out for that. Tino Taylor. Next up, this one was sick. Look at that. Look, I love these backgrounds. You know, I don't know what they're called, but I always use it when I'm doing video editing and that kind of thing. This is like, you know, a man walking through nature, but with some tech vibe in there. And you go down and he's just, you know, he crushes it with his client project section. So he's actually taken the sort of, you know, the gig that we gave him or the sort of, you know, portfolio template I gave him. He's added in this nice dynamic sort of sticky sidebar. And then look at this. It just shows that he knows what he does well and he crushes it. And look at that. He wants to present it. I love this one. This is why I had to give it as well. Look at this. What's the point of university when we have Sunny? Thank you, guys. Appreciate that, by the way. Killed it, dude. Absolutely crushed it. Amazing stuff. We had Oya Koya. Sorry, dude, Curtis, if I pronounce it wrong, but you absolutely crushed it as well. This one was sick. Look at the intro. It's just fresh. Like, guys, you're taking it to next levels. Honestly, look at this. It's actually a responsive build, which is awesome. And just nice little animations, really, really slick. Honestly, you can go ahead and mess around with it, but that absolutely killed it. I love this one. Just for this, you know, he went ahead and changed it, did a bunch of changes himself. It was sick. We've got Solomon and we've got Dean. I'm gonna go ahead and check these ones out. Solomon, this one was awesome. Only recommendation I would have said is this was so slick. This is honestly one of the most modern looking designs that you probably would actually get. I mean, even I would look at this and be like, that's the design wise, this is very on point with what's currently trending. I would actually have a circle picture of yourself here, like an avatar, right? I would have probably added that so I could see who you are, because I see Solo and I see all of this stuff and I'm like, who is this guy? You know, who is this girl behind this? Because whoever they are, it's a sick design. So you absolutely crushed it, dude. And we have Dean Barber. Let's go ahead and check this one out. While it loads up, there we go. Looks pretty sick, guys. Honestly, I love the little animations. Just anything different, it's nice. Honestly, it's very nice. Big and bold he went for. Looks sick. Good job, dude. So well done, guys. Remember, everyone that I featured before and those that I just demonstrated absolutely crushed it. We just have over 500 people tuning in. That's what I'm talking about. I cannot believe the retention that we still have over 500,000 people tuning in again for day 2. Submissions from all around the world. Go ahead and comment right now if you say I got featured if you saw your resume here. So we have Ibrahim says, Sunny, this is Dean. Sick stuff, dude. Awesome job on your portfolio. Nathan dropping that positivity, goes, yeah, they killed it. Tino says, respect for the worthy mention. Dude, it was sick. You deserve it. So well done on that. Absolutely crushing it, guys. All around the world. This is why the PapaFam community is the best. I will say it, period. And I didn't make it like that. I just made it as a community to help each other. But you guys took it to the next level and made this the best community that I have ever seen on YouTube or just ever been a part of, right? This is why we make it a big point about helping each other. That's why you get extra points for helping each other out. Look at this. Rosen's in the comments right now. He goes, I got featured. Rosen, dude, you blew me away. Jay showed it and I was like, what? I was like, I thought I was looking at a GitHub repo, you know, that new 1S edition, but I was like, what is happening? So you crushed it. That's actually sick, right? Let's go ahead and carry on. We've got a few, you know, amazing examples of people helping others out. So again, go ahead and take a screenshot of you helping someone out, and it's going to be huge for getting those points, right? All about that positivity. Let's build the front end of Airbnb. It's time. It's absolutely time. I think let's go ahead and drop a new vibe. So we've got some new music right now. I actually really like this one, right? So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you how to start your first project. We're going to be using ReactJS, which is basically a library for the fundamentals, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We use ReactJS to build some sick apps. In this case, we're going to build Airbnb. We're going to use a framework for ReactJS called Next.js, which allows us to do things called server-side rendering and a few other cool stuff. And that's going to make it a really slick experience, and it's going to be awesome for the user, and it's going to be awesome for us developing it. We're going to punch in with Tailwind CSS, so that way when we resize the screen, it's going to be responsive, it's going to be super quick to style, and I'm going to make all of this capable or easy to sort of follow and understand in one simple terminal command. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I find these commands, so that way you can go ahead and do it afterwards, but you guys can pretty much follow along at this point. And remember, submit your homework at the end of today, and you'll get a big chance of winning that £10,000 prize pool. All right, let's build the front end of Airbnb. Let's do this, guys. So let me get this thing ready and let me prep this out. Oh, I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. We're going to be building this, the front end right here. Airbnb, we've got the search bar at the top, become a host, a bunch of nice icons. We've got this beautiful banner at the top, which actually has a nice little responsive resizing element to it. And then we've got this explore nearby. So you can see this is going to make use of some CSS grid. We've got some flex spots going on, Tailwind CSS, all this stuff is going to be flying today. Gabriel, what's up? He goes, don't forget to hit that like button. Gabriel is the one who crushed it with a 120K PayPal job. He's sitting in the comments right now. So go ahead and give him a question if you're curious about that. But absolutely crazy. I think some people think that, you're not a real person, but you absolutely crushed it. And thank you so much for the $5 donation. Also, we have a new membership for the Papa Fam, which is actually on YouTube. So you can click a little join button to support the Papa Fam. You get nice, cool little emojis and stickers next to your name. So yeah, consider it, and it helps out the channel. But let's kick this, guys. Remember, first link in the description to go ahead and register for the final day event is the first link in the description. But if you haven't already, links.papareact.com/challenge. You can still sign up for the challenge. It's not too late. Join the Facebook group, and let's go ahead and kick this off. As you can see, we've got so many members. It's just growing at an incredible rate. Do this, guys. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and start off by setting up our project with Next.js. Okay, so the guys over at Next.js and Tailwind, I don't know if they've collabed or whatever it is, but they've actually made it extremely easy for us to set up our project to get started with this stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a terminal if you're on Mac, or Bash or command prompt or whatever you use on Windows. We're going to open those up first. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to open up my terminal. So I'm going to pull this open, and we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. It's going to be a very chilled out jam session of a coding, like sort of not tutorial, but it's going to be a code with me vibe. Okay, and don't worry if you fall back, or you need to kind of speed up, just take your time. We're going to get into this, and we're going to enjoy this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do it on my desktop right here. And what we're going to do right now is you can go ahead and actually type in on Google Tailwind Next.js, and you can actually see straight away, you'll see install Tailwind CSS with Next.js. And this is going to be the page you reach, and this is Tailwind site. So this is actually, we're going to be using something called npx create next app. Now, if you try and use npx and you haven't already installed Node, then you're going to need to install Node. So to do that, all you need to go ahead and do is go to Node and literally download it. And it's a JavaScript runtime environment built on Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. Basically allows you to run JavaScript on your computer. So you need to install that to get started with this, okay? The next thing I'll say is actually install Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, you wanna make sure you've got this, because we're gonna be using that to actually do our coding, right? So to get started, we're back at this link. We're gonna copy this top portion all the way up until my project, because I don't actually want my project. In fact, to make it easy, let's copy it all. Now let's break this down. We're using npx, which is basically a way of executing a package from this kind of global remote repos or projects or whatever they call them. Basically, this is a package that someone has made from Next, which allows us to go ahead and initialize our app. -E means set it up with a template, which is called with Tailwind CSS. So it's actually going to do all the sort of heavy lifting and prep work for us in the beginning. And then this is going to be the name of our project. So To do this, what we do is we simply paste this in. We change the name of this to Airbnb. I'm going to go ahead and say YouTube. Then we hit enter. This will go ahead and prepare the code for what we need to do. So let's go ahead and click on Y, enter. And this is going to go ahead and initialize a app for us. Okay, so this is going to create a Next.js app in our directory. So I would recommend always kind of keeping your folder structure kind of clean. You know, make sure that you actually have all your builds in a place that you can locate after. I've spoken to people and they kind of throw it in like these nested folders somewhere dark and deep. Make it accessible because it's going to help you out later on. And I would really recommend that you do keep these at hand. Keep them in a nice folder. In this case, once we are done, we're going to go ahead and do CD to go into that folder that we just created. And I'm going to go ahead and type in CD Airbnb YouTube, enter. And now I'm inside of my folder. Okay. Once we're done with this, I'm going to go ahead and hit code dot. Now what that means is open up a Visual Studio Code in this folder. So if I do that, it will load up a Visual Studio Code in that exact specified folder. Now, if it said code is not recognized, then all you need to do is go ahead and click yes, I trust the authors. This is me. And they can ignore that, ignore that. And what we're going to do here is do Command Shift P and type in code. And you can see here it says shell command, install code command in path. Do that and then you'll be able to do that command that I just did here. So it'll open up. Otherwise, you open up Visual Studio Code and press Command O or Command O, and then you're going to be able to go ahead and open up the folder that way. There's two ways of doing it. Whatever you find easier. Okay, we've got Visual Studio Code open. This is where we're going to do everything, right? So this video is going to be up available afterwards on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch. So do not worry if you get stuck behind. You can take your time, go through it at your own pace. Okay. Thank you so much, Saeed, for the $7.99 donation coming in clutch. Appreciate you, dude. That's huge. Right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and break down this folder structure. So what we have in here, you can see some Tailwind configuration. And what it's doing over here is it's setting up all of the things that Tailwind needs to know about. It's using the latest and greatest just-in-time compiler mode for Tailwind, which is actually a really cool, powerful feature that they have. So I'm not going to break it down too much, but that allows us to use the latest sort of version of Tailwind. And then, yeah, we're going to go into pages. Now, in Next.js, everything happens from this pages folder. The way that it works is we have the index.js file. Now, the index.js file is simply represents our home point, basically. It's basically where everything starts off from. Okay, so this is going to represent / on our website, right? So at this point, I don't know if it's getting hot in here or if it's the code or something's running my computer down, but we're good. We'll keep on going. So at this point, what we're going to do is you can see we have everything inside of main that looks like so, right? So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and do Command J, and then I'm going to go ahead and start up this app. The way that I start this app up is simple. I simply need to go ahead and type in yarn or npm. In this case, if it's package lock, it's npm we're using. If it's yarn lock, it's going to be yarn. So I'm going to do npm today. I'm going to do npm run dev. And while that's loading, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the air conditioner so that way the room doesn't get too hot. So I'll be right back while you guys do that command, and give me 1 second. Let's do this. Okay, we are back. Let's kick it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and actually turn on a little thing called a noise gate, which allows us to get rid of that background noise a little bit. Okay, we are done. Let's carry on. So at this point, you can see what we're actually going to be doing is we want to go ahead and run our application. So you can see here we had npm run dev, right? So at this point, you've done npm run dev, and it will start up on server on a server. In this case, it's going to be localhost 3000. So I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to go ahead and say Safari. So I'm going to open up my Safari, open up a new tab, and I'm going to do localhost 3000. Okay. Yeah, you're going to hear a little bit of a fan. Don't worry about it. It's all good. All right, we have welcome to Next.js. Get started by adding pages / index.js. Okay, So once we've done that, you can see this is going to say, welcome to Next.js, get started by editing pages index.js. So at this point, what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to actually start coding from this file. Index.js is essentially going to be our starting point, as I mentioned before. So if we had the thing that's nice about Next.js is it has a built-in router, okay? Darwin, I will check that out. Thank you so much, dude. For today, it's a fan noise, guys. I'm pretty sure we can all deal with it. In fact, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll save us a little bit of hassle. I'll turn the fan down a tiny bit, and hopefully that will actually help us out a bit. Okay, there we go. A little bit lower, it's all good. All right, don't worry, guys. So at this point, we've got this open. So this is where we kickstart our app. So Next.js has a built-in router, okay? And router is going to be some. Jay, write that down, crisp. I'm going to try that out tonight. But we have Next.js here. So it has a built-in router. So index.js points to the / homepage of our application. Hence, it's the index, which means this is our starting point. If I had search.js, it's going to represent the / search page. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say Command B, and I'm going to go ahead and restructure my page. That way I can work nicer with this. So we're going to go ahead and get everything from the main block. All right. So what I like to do is go down to main, grab everything and delete it. I'm going to do the same thing for the footer. Okay. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and type in H1 and we'll say, let's build Airbnb. Hit save. And you can see now it says, let's build Airbnb. So this is called fast refresh. This means when we're coding, it's actually going to go ahead and refresh the page as I save the files. It's a very nice experience when we're coding. Okay. And what I'm actually going to do is, it felt a little bit weird. I thought so. We usually have the demo on this side. That's better. That feels more natural and it's a lot more easier to go ahead and follow me. All right. So at this point, we've got let's build Airbnb. Now we've got this new head component. The head component is actually from Next.js. Now we have something called the head sort of, let's call it element in HTML, which allows us to have all the things which the browser cares about. Now, one of those things that the browser cares about is the title that you see on the tab. So at this point, if we can see, it says create next app. What if I wanted that to say Airbnb? What if I wanted that to say Papa React? I can go ahead and actually use this new head component and actually pop it in the screen like so. And then we can go ahead and modify something called the title. Anything that actually goes inside the head, we can actually go ahead and change it over here like so. So in this case, we can change the Favy icon and we can also change this. I'm going to go ahead and say Papa Airbnb and hit save. And now you can see it changes at the top. It says Papa Airbnb. Okay. So this is looking pretty good right now. At this point, we're going to go ahead and build out our app. So you can see here, we've got these weird, quirky class names. This is called Tailwind CSS. So Tailwind CSS allows us to no longer have separate CSS files, but what we can instead do is actually have these things called utility classes. Utility classes are essentially very quick ways to go ahead and style up one of our sort of, files or components. So that way we can code really quick and we can have a super, quite a lot of power behind it. Right. So at this point, what I would recommend you do is before you carry on any further, go down here and hit Tailwind CSS. We want to go ahead and install something called a Tailwind CSS extension. You're going to see this Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This gives you autocomplete. So when you're typing those quirky, weird names, it's actually going to give you a bunch of a nice breakdown. If you do want to learn more about Tailwind CSS, I really recommend you pause the video here, you head over to tailwindcss.com, and you can actually give this one page a simple read, and this will go ahead and break down all of the nice functional sort of features that Tailwind CSS provides. As you can see here, we've got loads of colors, and remember when we use a color in Tailwind CSS, imagine we use BG Red 50. It goes all the way up to 900, and each different one, so 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900 are going to be different shades of that color. Okay, so that's a quick kind of introduction into it. If you want to use a shadow, you've got different shadow depths. You can see where I'm going with this, right? Tailwind CSS allows us to style out our applications really, really nicely and quickly. All right. If you guys like the pace that I'm moving at, smash the thumbs up button and let me know right now in the comments, because I'll keep moving at this pace. I think we're going at quite a nice pace, and that's actually the homework link for today. Sorry, that's going to be the link in the description. Let's continue on strong, guys. Command B. and you've got this. Now we know this to be something called a functional component, and a functional component exists because what we can do in React is we can create one component and reuse it several times. In this case, we're basically pointing at the actual home screen itself. We're going to keep it very simple. This is our home screen, okay? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to transform this into this, right? So all you need to do is click your finger and it works. I'm joking, it doesn't work. We're gonna have to break it down. It's not that easy, but I will try and make it that easy. So we've got Airbnb over here. We're gonna go ahead and literally get to the point where we're, you know, we've got it looking like this. We wanna get to the point where we're looking like this. So the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of, you know, I like to do something called commenting out the kind of layout, okay? So at the top of the Airbnb actual clone, what we have, you can see, is, let me go ahead and actually get my stuff working. There we go. We actually have this nice little section at the top. Now this is called the header, okay? So for the header at the top, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and actually create a component for the header. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually add in a comment here. I'm gonna say the header will go here. The next thing I'm gonna do is have something called a banner, right? So we're gonna break this up. We're gonna do the header and then we're gonna do the banner. This is gonna be responsible for here. So you can see what's really nice about this is that we can go ahead and actually split up the workload, right? This means that, you know, like if you get tired when you're coding, you could focus on one component, come back and then do another one. It's very nice in that sense. And also it's actually amazing as a developer experience, and it's gonna help you sort of, you know, scale up when you're building really powerful apps, right? So we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna focus on these sections down here. All of the information here, we're actually going to pull from an API. I've actually gone ahead and prepared all of this through really nice, simple API links. So you can actually pull all this data in, so you don't have to manually add all this in. You just go ahead, follow me, and we can do it ourselves together. Let's kick this off and get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of this information in the class name. Now notice when I do this, it's going to go all the way, you know, there's nothing here now, right? And that's actually because I got rid of this as well. But if I say hello world, you're going to now see that it's in the top left corner. This is because we have zero styling applied to our application, okay? The shortcut for quick comment is actually going to go command /. That's how you do a little quick comment, right? So at this point, we're going to go ahead and actually build this out. So what we like to do is we like to keep our app very neat, okay? If you click on the folder structure over here, you can see everything belongs in pages. Now, ignore the API. We will touch on that later on. What's really nice is when you use Next.js, because it's served off a server, so literally the pages are going to be served from a server instead of directly to the browser. I'll explain that in a sec. But what's really nice is that we actually get a built-in API. So you can run Express, you can run, you know, the actual Next.js server. It's really powerful, and I definitely recommend using it, right? At this point, we're going to go ahead and close our pages. We're going to click on package.json so that we're on that like sort of level or folder structure. We're going to add a new folder. We're going to call this one components. So as you can imagine, all of the pages belong in pages. So that's going to be the home page, the search page. All the reusable components are going to be put inside the components folder. Okay. So as you can imagine, what we've done here is we've already got two. We've got a header and a banner component. The header component, I'm going to go ahead and click that, create a file called header.js. Now, how do we go ahead and start, right? Right now, our app looks literally empty. So what we're actually going to do right now is go ahead and create our header functional component. Now, there's a very nice extension, right? If you go into your extensions tab and you download something called ES7 snippets, right? So it's actually the top one here, and it's going to be this snippets, right? ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native snippets. Get these. These are going to really help you out when you're doing this, right? So this is going to make it super easy to go ahead and get set up in today's build. And what we can do with these snippets is once we've installed that, we can do _ React functional component, which we export. And if I go ahead and do enter, you can see, boom, it actually creates the functional component for us. We get the boilerplate code, makes it super, super easy, right? Extensions are basically ways to power up our code editor. So in this case, you can see we've added a bunch here, and they're just going to allow us to have a better coding experience. They're kind of like power-ups to our coding environment. We can go ahead and install them, and it helps us, you know, level up our coding environment, right? So we now have a header in play. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to test this out, okay? So how do I actually know if my header's on the screen or not? So what I do here is I type in a H1, which stands for a header, and I'm going to say I am the header. Enter, save, sorry. I'm going to go back to my index. I need to render it on the screen because right now, again, we have nothing on the screen. So what I'm going to do is rather than having a comment, I'm going to delete this, and I'm actually going to put something called a component here. So we have these nice little sort of, brackets, and we're going to type in header. Now you can see on my VS Code, I get a little suggestion come up here, and it says components/header. It says auto import from that folder. So I'm going to click that, and it says import header from components. Now that may not work for you. If that doesn't work for you, then all you're going to need to do, Command B, and you're going to have to locate your folder. So in this case, it's a folder level up, which is how we do ... It's inside the components folder and header, and you just type this out. Okay, so super easy to go ahead and do that. Right, so we're going to go ahead and make this extremely simple to go ahead and follow. So at this point, what we have is we have the header. So if I go ahead and save this file, we can now see the header actually needs to be something. It's called a self-closed component. Okay, so if we go ahead and hit save, it says I am the header. Right, so at this point, it looks pretty nice. And guys, we're almost at 400 likes as well for a challenge video. That is sick. Let's keep on going, guys. We're going very strong. We have literally over 600 viewers across platform. Okay, let's carry on. Make sure you have a water break every now and then, okay? Don't want anyone kind of, getting dried out during this challenge. Right, so now we have the header. Looks pretty good. So now what we can do is you can see all the code that I provide inside this header.js file gets rendered on the screen here. So now you can see how we kind of, block out our code. Okay, so we're going to click into header.js and start building this out the way we need to. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to use this as a reference. So as you can see, this is our final kind of build. So we have 3 sections here. We have the left section, the middle section, and the right section. Okay, so the way we do this when we're coding is we go ahead and we actually go ahead and spread, like we containerize it. So there's an overall container here at the top, right? This container at the top is going to be used for, it's going to be used to display the actual header out. So I want to have 3 divs which separate. So a div is literally a container. So we literally start off by containerizing things. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to, and guys, please, if you spam that chat, it's straight timeout or block. So don't spam. All right. Ecuador in the house. What's up, dude? Let's get this energy up, guys. Right, let's get the energy up and let's push it because everyone's killing it today. We have so many viewers. I think everyone's in their focus mode. That's why the chat is kind of, everyone's trying to code along. So let's keep the energy good. So what we do here is we go ahead and to make this easier, I'm going to pull this onto a separate screen so that way we can go back and forth from our, the one that we're comparing to. I'm going to go to my Papa Airbnb. There we go. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to create those 3 divs. I'm going to create a div here. This div is going to be responsible for the left section. Okay, so this div is going to be responsible for the left-hand side section. I'm going to create the middle div over here. I'm going to create a right div over here. So the middle one, I'm going to go ahead and type in div. There we go, hit save. And for the right one, I'm going to type in another div and hit save. If you're wondering how I'm doing that kind of quick typing, it's called Emmet. Right? You can literally Google online and you can go ahead and check it out. So we got left, middle, right. Awesome stuff, guys. And if you're finding, chat annoying or anything like that, just go ahead and you can minimize the chat. It's all good. Right? So at this point, we've got the left section, the middle section, and the right section. Right? So at this point, when you're using HTML as well, there are actually very kind of, good components or elements that you should be using when you're building out things like a header, a footer, the body, and so forth. When you're building out a header, you should use something called the header tag, right? This goes ahead and tells, things like Google and that when they go ahead and scan the page, that it's going to actually, this is actually a header that the little kind of Google robot is looking at. Right, so it's going to be a header component. Now we have the H1 I'm a header and it's still rendering on the page. Looks good. Awesome stuff. Header tags are important. Making use of the correct tags helps you a lot more than you think. Okay, so we're going to make a good emphasis on that. Now, I want an image in this left div. This is going to resemble the Airbnb logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something. I'm not going to use a normal image tag. So an image tag is typically what we'd do. We'd put in a source over here, and this source would actually go ahead and, it would point towards that image. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use the actual Next.js image tag. The reason why we use the Next.js image tag is because the Next.js image tag actually kind of optimizes that image. So it does a very clever compression, turns the image into a format called WebP, which is way smaller than JPEG, PNG, all these other file types, right? So it makes it way smaller and it also delivers it in a lot more optimal way. right? Again, if you get stuck with this stuff, don't worry about it. Just, you know, Google, research it a little bit, come back, continue the video. So the way that we use the Google, the image tag, is we simply import image from next image. I'm going to go to the top, pop it in, image from next image. Now what I do is I go down to my code. I'm going to go ahead and use that over here. So I'm going to type in image, and it's a self-closing component. We go ahead and have that, you know, extra /. Okay. Then what we do is we go ahead and we pass a few different attributes to it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and actually type in source. And for the source, I have a nice little link that I've shortened for you guys to make the whole experience easier. When you guys are coding along with me, if I provide a long one, it's really hard to kind of, you know what's going on. And at the end of this challenge, all the code will be available at the public GitHub repo after the challenge. No cheating. Okay. So here we have the first link. Now notice what happens. Okay. If I hit save on this, we're going to get an error. This error is going to say, yo, you need to use width and height or the layout property if you're going to do what you're doing. We're going to do two things. You can either pass in a width and a height to make this work the way it works. Now, the reason why it needs a width or height or it needs the layout is because, remember, as I said, it delivers it in a compressed, optimized way. The only way it does that is it needs to know those things beforehand. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to say layout equals fill. And what this will do is it will actually use up the maximum space of the container that it's in. So in this case, the div, right? We're going to go ahead and hit save. Now we get a different issue. It says invalid source prop, host name links.papa.react is not configured under images in the next config file. So basically, because we need to go ahead and actually, you know, prepare Next.js for those pictures, we need to whitelist the domains that we allow pictures to come from. The way that we do that, basically, it's a way of saying that to Next.js, only accept pictures that come from this place. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Command B. I'm going to go into this level. So I click package.json, which allows me to get back at that level. Click a new file. And on this new file, I'm going to go ahead and type in the following. I'm going to say next.config.js. This is the configuration file for our next framework. Okay. So what we need to do next is we type in module.exports equals, and we do curly braces. Now this is a way of writing kind of old school JavaScript, right? It's called a module export. You can look into it if you want. But what we can do here is we can pass in an images option. This is basically how we customize the actual, you know, configuration file. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger. We customize it like so. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, pass in an object. And then what we can do is we can say domains. And this is how we basically specify which domains we should accept the pictures from. This takes an array, hence the square brackets. An array is like a list, right? In this case, what I'm going to do is, in that way you can pass in, you know, several different domains. I'm going to type in links.papareact.com. And what I'm basically saying is accept any picture that comes from that website, right? That way it'll make it easy for you guys. Now, when we do that, you're going to have to go ahead, and because we changed it, you see it says found a change in next.config.js, restart the server. So I'm going to do Control-C to cut my server. Command-K is to clear your server. Now you can see I'm not running it anymore. So if I try and refresh this, Safari can't connect to the server. In this case, I'm going to rerun my app, npm run dev. And this will go ahead and run my app again. Now the reason why we need to do that is anytime you change your next configuration file, you're going to need to change that. Okay, you're going to need to restart your server because that's a configuration file. Okay, so let's carry on, guys. I think this is actually a really nice pace. 550 plus viewers across platforms. Incredible stuff. Let's keep going. Right, we're going to go back to, now we can hit refresh and we should see we are back up. And we can see a huge Airbnb logo. So we've done something right. Command J is to hide the terminal, by the way. Right, so we've got the terminal up, but this is, we got the picture up, but it looks horrible, right? That's not how we want it at all. So what I'm going to do now is actually neaten this up a bit, make it a lot more nicer to look at. First thing I want to do is keep the aspect ratio. You see right now, it's kind of, you know, all messed up and it's looking a bit nasty right now. I'm not going to lie, right? So what I want to do right now instead is add a second attribute, and this one's going to say object fit. And you see we get these ones right here. So object fit equals contain. And what this does is it stops it from changing its aspect ratio, which means that even it will still use up the same space, but it won't stretch. It will keep the aspect ratio. Okay. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say object position left. Oops, space left. And this will actually assign it to the left-hand side of its container. Now that will be handy for a bit later. All right. So we're gonna push it to the left once it's done. Now you can see it's taking up a huge amount of room. I wanna go ahead and clean this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the div that is surrounding it. I'm going to go to the class names. And this is how we go ahead and style out the element that's surrounding our image. This is a div, which is a container, as I mentioned before. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this relative, which means that, you know, anything which is styled over here is going to be relative to the size of the container. So if this container is small, the image then becomes small. If it's not relative, then it's going to be basically relative to the entire application size, which we don't want. We want to kind of contain it in that div. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to type in flex to make this a flex box. Now, if you do get stuck at any point with flex, I'll explain it and I'll break it down, but check out a website called Flexbox Froggy. Yes, Flexbox Froggy, like a frog.com, and do that tutorial. It's a game. You play literally 20 levels and you will know Flexbox. It's very quick. You can go ahead, pause the video, go watch it and come back if you're watching this back, but that's going to help you out a ton. And then what we're going to do is we're going to center the items. Again, these are utility classes from Tailwind CSS. They allow us to do a bunch of cool stuff. Now you can see we've lost it, right? We don't see it anywhere. So this is because we've made it, you know, we've made it a flex, which means it's going to go ahead and shrink itself. So I need to say this is a height of 10, right? And now you can see it only uses up a height of 10, okay? So it's looking okay, right? It's looking okay at the moment. What I'm then going to do is when I hover over this, I want it to be a cursor pointer. Right now, it's not a normal cursor. I can just type in cursor pointer. Nice. And if you're new to coding, this is actually going to be, typically you would do this with CSS, but we're doing it with Tailwind, which is basically writing the CSS for us in some sense. So you can see when I hover over it, it's literally adding in this CSS code for us. Okay. This is going to be sick. Tino says, when your laptop dies during the live, oh, damn it, dude. Don't worry. That's why we record. I got you, dude. And we're going to type in a margin Y of auto. This will go ahead and centralize it once we go ahead and get this thing working the way we need it, or size the way we need it to. Okay. Looks pretty good. At this point, the header is kind of, you know, we don't know the sizing, the dynamics around it. But in this one, it's got a very nice kind of padding around it. So you can see how it's not touching. In this case, R1's touching. That doesn't look very nice. So I'm going to style my header. Okay. So for the header, I'm going to say it's sticky. Now, what the hell does sticky mean? Sticky means as I scroll down, it sticks to the top. Okay. So we want this to actually stick to the top of the page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say sticky. And it's a very nice kind of thing you should know about. And we're going to say top 0. Now, if you did sticky top 50, it would be stuck in the middle of the page. That wouldn't be a very good experience, would it? Right. So this is going to be really nice. So sticky top 0. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to say Z50. Now, Z index is basically what layer it appears on. So if something has a Z index of, let's say 1 and something has 50, 50 is going to go in front of the one of the element with Z index of 1. So we want this one to be always at the front. So we're going to give it a Z index of 50. That's why when we scroll down, it's always at the front. All right. So we're going to protect ourselves here, Z index of 50. Now, what we're actually going to do here is we're going to make this entire top row. And what I'm actually going to do to demonstrate it is we're going to make it a grid, right? And this is going to be a grid of 3 different columns. So if you think about this, what we're doing here is I'm actually going to go ahead and create, let me go ahead and get a little box, right? And I'll freeze it on the screen. There we go. Nice. So I'm going to create a box here, right? And this is going to be a sort of, you know, a container, or how do I get this? Oops, no, not that one. Is it? Nope, not that one. Oh, no, that's a circle. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and where the hell is that drawing? There we go. Yeah. So I'm going to make this a column. So this entire container, I'm going to split it up into a column, 3 columns. This is called a grid layout. This is going to be column 1, column 2, column 3. And this allows us to go ahead and style it out the way we need to do it. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So right now you can see it's just pretty much, you know, it's Rago. It hasn't got any style applied. So at this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to type in grid. This applies the grid structure. You can see it applies this CSS class. Hit save. Okay, nothing changed so far. We're going to say grid columns 3. Grid dash columns dash 3. Oops, 3. Hit save. Again, nothing visually changes yet because all we have is that at the moment. But to prove that stuff's happening, we can type in BG for the background color. And if I just do red 500, you're going to see that there is actually something happening right now. Okay. So I'm going to make the top white, right? Now you're probably wondering, it's already white. Why would you make it white again? No, it's actually already transparent. The background of the page is just white. That's why we see it. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to type in BG white. Okay. Now white, you don't have to give a shade to it. It just works the way it works. It looks nice. right? The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type in shadow MD, and this gives it a nice kind of, you know, shadow underneath it. That gives us this nice floating aspect, this floating feeling that we see right here. That's really nice, right? Oops, there you go. That's really nice, okay? So super simple right now, shadow MD. And the next thing we're gonna do is type in a padding to the y-axis, so on top and bottom of 5. And you're gonna see when I enter that, you see how now we have some spacing? Looks a lot better, right? But look, we still have a problem on the x-axis, right? So it's touching the sides too much right now, okay? So what I'm actually gonna do right now is do padding X 5. And now you can see we padded it inward. And guys, we're starting to look pretty good at this point, all right? This is looking pretty damn nice at this point. I can see so much positivity in the chat right now. And yeah, there is a shortcut for this. If you wanna go ahead and combine this, you can just type in, so if you want 5 on the X and Y axes, we can actually go ahead and say padding in all directions of 5. And it gives us the same effect, okay? So if you're enjoying this video so far, smash the thumbs up button. We're actually nearly at 500 likes, killing it today, absolutely crushing it. You guys have been awesome so far. Let's keep on going. Dev Mentor for Live says that haircut is super fleek. Thank you so much, dude. All right, so this is looking pretty nice at the moment. Now, what we can do, which is even cooler with Tailwind, is you see right now the padding here is actually a padding of, it's quite large, right? When we go to a mobile device, that padding shrinks. So if we go ahead and get bigger, can you see there's a difference in padding between the small screen and the medium screen? It gets a bit bigger, right? Now, how the hell does that work? All right, so this is actually called breakpoints. Now, the way a breakpoint works in Tailwind CSS is typically everything is mobile first, which means that the rules and the utility classes that I'm writing right now, they are all for the mobile screen unless we say otherwise. So they're all going to be mobile screen. And then if you go ahead and make your screen bigger, it just keeps those styles. But what's really cool is we can go ahead and say, when you hit the medium screen, do this. When you hit the large screen, do this. When you hit the extra large, and it goes up to like 2, 3XL, right? So what we're gonna do now is these are all mobile first. And then we're gonna see when we hit the medium screen, we're gonna apply a padding of on the x-axis of 10. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and kill something called rocket. That's why you guys can see the emoji. So here, medium of 10. And what this does is it adds in something called a CSS media query. And it says, only apply padding X of 10, so you literally double the X padding when we reach a size of, let's go again over that. It says when we reach a size of 768 pixels, okay? Hit save, and now you can see, if I make this a bit bigger, boom, after a certain point, it gets bigger. That is called a breakpoint, and that's why I really do honestly love using Tailwind CSS. It's so easy to make responsive websites. You guys are incredible. Wow, look at the chat right so far. We just broke 500 likes. Let's keep that number racking up, guys, and let's keep crushing it. Right, we've got the left section pretty much done at this point, right? So if we go ahead and make this full screen, looking pretty nice, okay? Pretty nice. Let's keep on going at this pace. We've got the left side done, so I'm gonna get rid of that. We've got, actually, I'll keep it in there. I'll keep it, I think it helps you guys out. The next section is the search section. So the middle is gonna be representing the search. The search looks like this, okay? There we go. We've got, love this stuff. Let's go, Ritesh. Thank you so much for the positivity, dude. So this is actually going to be like a custom input field. So we've got to have to do a few clever things here. And then we actually have a nice little icon over here that I'm going to show you guys how to go ahead and grab yourself. So to get this working, we have our div. We go inside the div. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually have an input field. So an input field in HTML allows us to have some text. So if I go ahead and pop that in right now, you're going to see that it's actually over here. A little bit hard to see by yourself, but there you go. So I can start typing in that input field. Now, looks kind of cool, but it looks a bit boring, right? I want that to look like that. Now, obviously, an input field doesn't look like that out of the box. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the div around it have this look. And then we're even going to have a little kind of icon inside the div. And then up to this point over here, we're going to have the input field. Okay, so it's actually going to be the div that looks like that, the input field here, and then a little icon over there. Okay. So we're actually going to be using something called hero icons. So someone just beat me to it. Marco, nice job, dude. Hero icons. This is actually something awesome that the guys over at Tailwind CSS work with. These are built by those guys. And what you can do is we're pretty much going to install this into our project. And then you can go to heroicons.com, search for any icon here, and then pretty much use it. So in this point, imagine we wanted a search icon. We're going to see that we get two icons, two variants. We get the outline variant and the solid variant. We've got search and search over here. Some of them look the same. Some of them have a different aesthetic. Okay. In this case, I'm going to click documentation. Now with this, I'm going to go ahead and install this. So npm install hero icons react. That's it. Let's keep the vibe up. Right now we've got the command J to bring up the terminal. I would keep one terminal open on your code and I'd add another one. So you can see we opened up a second terminal, and in this one I'll do paste. So npm install hero icons react, hit enter. And while it's doing that, you can see, then you can basically go ahead and pull it in. So imagine we wanted the search icon, we import search icon from hero icons react, and then remember, solid or outline, you get two variants. Okay, and you can change all of the stuff with Tailwind, hence why it was built by those guys, because they wanted to incorporate all that Tailwind utility class goodness inside these icon sets as well. If you're enjoying this, smash the thumbs up button. I love the energy today. Carry on, guys. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and implement that little beautiful search bar, right? So what I'm going to do is, you can see we've successfully installed it. So keep that tab open, but I'll go back to the terminal, command J to hide it. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and have the following. To make sure that it's not so confusing, I would add a placeholder as well to your input. And I would say here, what do we want? We said start your search. Start your search. Enter. There you go. Now it looks like a placeholder. You can type in it. A little bit more nicer to look at while you're building this out, right? But what I would do now is I want something called the search icon. So to import the search icon from where we need, I'm going to go ahead and say import search icon, and this actually is something called an explicit import, so we need to define the exact name. So search icon from, and this one is going to be from hero icons /react / the solid variant is what I want. Okay, this gives me the hero icon for the search icon, sorry. So what I do here is I go ahead and say render it out on the screen, self-closing in component, and now we get a huge icon on the screen. Looks pretty sick, right? William, nice dude. He goes, Sunny State is indeed beginner friendly. I'm loving it. Thank you so much, dude. I really want to kind of break it down so that way everyone can learn coding, everyone can enjoy it. Okay, let's carry on, dude. Nice. I always love William's positivity, man. So at this point, we've got the search icon. So what I can do now is I can go to class name. With the class name, I can start applying all the styles that I want. So I want to give it a height of 8 because it's kind of huge right now. All right, there you go. Looks a bit smaller. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into it a little bit. So as I apply it, you guys can see it. I'm going to make this actually be a little bit responsive, but we'll sort that out in a second. The first thing I want to do is I want to make the background a shade of red. So I'm going to do BG red, and I'm going to make it 400. And what I love about that IntelliSense is it gives you the color samples and everything. So that looks pretty nice. To change the actual icon to white, it's actually text-white. Okay, and then you can see it, and that's because an icon is actually text. Right? If you didn't know that, now you know. It's pretty much going to be resembled as text on the computer side. What we're actually going to do now is I want this to be rounded. I want it to be like a little circle. So I'm going to type in rounded-full. And boom, we have a circle. At this point, that actually looks pretty clean. I'm not going to lie. I'm liking how that looks. But what you can then do, I'm going to add a little bit of padding so it has a bit of breathing room. So I'm going to type in P of 2. And if you're always confused as to what it's actually adding, that's the CSS it adds. So we're using rem, which is a better measure to use. Hit save. Now we have our nice little icon, right? Looks very clean at this point. Now, when I do go ahead and hover over it, I want that to be a cursor pointer. So I'm going to type in cursor pointer. Okay. And then now when I hover over it, there you go. Looks really good, right? Thank you so much, Sam. He goes, you're an angel. Appreciate it, dude. You guys are awesome. You're the reason why I do what I do. Honestly, I couldn't thank you guys enough. So that looks pretty nice at this point. But our container by default is something called display block. That means that it stacks up. It just stacks up on top of each other. So what I'm doing is this div right here holds an input field and a search icon field, right? It holds these two fields. It holds this one right here and this one over here. So what I do is I apply something called flex to these two elements. And what flex does is it by default goes into a row. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my div, type in class name equals, and over here I can type in flex. And now you can see by default it goes into a row, but we have this squashed look to it. That's not very ideal, okay? So instead what I'm gonna do now is sort this out. So I'm gonna do flex, I'm gonna centralize the item, so item center. I'm gonna say the actual border here should be, I'm gonna give it a border only once it hits that medium breakpoint, but I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I say border, I'm gonna give it a border width of 2. You can see, look, we get a nice border, okay? And then what I'm gonna say is round the borders full. And you get different ones. You get rounded SM, rounded medium, rounded large, all these other different sizes. You see, that looks pretty good, but you see it's not there yet. It's just not looking the way it needs to look right now, right? And this is because of two things. It's because we don't have enough space. Remember, it's a 3-column thing. Over here, we actually sort of change a couple of things. We actually get rid of the icon on the small screen, but we show it on the medium screen. You see that? Otherwise, we get that issue. So we actually want to have that kind of responsiveness. To get that to work, what we do is we go ahead and firstly, I'm going to add a padding of Y of 2, so that we have a little bit more spacing. I'm actually going to add a shadow as well. Now, I want to add a couple of these style traits when only on the medium screen. Right now, you see, it doesn't make sense to render that out, right? So what I'm going to do is, for the search icon, I'm going to by default make it hidden. Okay, so by default, it's hidden. I'm only going to show it once I get to a medium screen. So medium screens, I'm going to make it something called inline flex. Now, you guys are probably getting annoyed at that. It's kind of covering it. It's medium inline flex. Okay, hidden media MD inline flex. So I hit save, and now when I make it bigger, only on the medium screen, it comes inline. Now, obviously, it's not working the way we want it to yet. So we're going to figure that one out right now as well. Okay, but at this point, you can see being a bit weird, being a bit unpredictable. Okay, the way that we fix this is we've got to change a couple of style properties. Firstly, let's fix the outer div. Right, we're getting there. We're kind of piling these on. Right, so on the sort of container element, I'm going to say only apply that border once we hit the medium size. So that looks cleaner on a phone, right? But only when we hit the medium size screen do I actually want to do it. Now, I didn't do that correctly. It's medium : border. So now only on the medium screen, I see the border. Awesome. Looks pretty good, right? Next thing I want to do is, you see on that border, it touches it. That's not nice. That's really not nice. So the way that we fix that is we can go ahead and add in something called padding left to the input field. So on the input field, I'm going to say, let's go ahead and say class name equals padding left of 5. In this case, what should I give it? Padding left of 5 is good. Yeah. And you can see it moved away, but we still have that little issue, right? This is because the background of the input field is white by default. So what I want to do is the input field, I can go ahead and say class name transparent. So I'm going to type in transparent. Okay. And now you can see, boom. Right. So now you can see it actually disappeared. Wait a second. Did I type something wrong? I think I did. Right. So it's actually not, it's BG transparent. Sorry, BG transparent. There we go. And now you can see there is no background, but we still have our search functionality. But we have this another annoying outline. Okay, how do we get rid of the outline? Well, in Tailwind CSS, it's really easy. We just type in outline, none. And now when I type in, okay, looking pretty good, right? Kind of gets close to that. And then we've got this other issue of this is not sticking to the side. It's a bit annoying, right? What I want to do is I want to make this input field grow. I want it to take up as much room inside that container as possible. When we have the container as flex, what we can do is we can select one of the components. We can say flex grow. And what that will do is it says grow as much as you possibly can. So it should push the other element into the corner now when I hit save. I do that, boom, throws it over to the corner. Okay, looking kind of good at this point, right? So what I can now do on the search icon is we can go ahead and see it applies at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and actually make this like so. I'll make that a little bit smaller so we can see what's happening. So for the flex box, for this div, and remember, if this is kind of getting confusing, you can go ahead and just pause it, get up to speed, and then carry on. Okay, don't worry, don't freak out if anything's not making sense. At this point, we can go ahead and say for the medium screen, I also want it to be a shadow. And I want to say shadow SM. Whoa, Akshay Shuksi just joined the YouTube membership. So welcome to the Papa Fam special tier, dude. So now you're going to have a cool little emblem next to your name. You can use our custom emojis. Welcome, man. Thank you for supporting this channel. If anyone else wants to support the channel, feel free to do so. Now you can see we have the shadow small only on the medium screen. And actually is under here. Very subtle to see that. But if I go ahead and change this to an extra large, oops, or just say a large, you can see there we go. You see how it's a very subtle, delicate, small border that we're applying there. Okay, now we've got this issue over there, right? That's not looking very good at this point. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to say for the search icon, I'm going to give it a margin X of auto. Oops. margin X of auto. But after the medium size screen, well, actually, no, we don't even need that. I'm gonna say it's because on the, it's only visible on the medium screen. So I'm gonna say after the medium screen, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, oops, 1 second, sorry guys. That's kind of annoying right now because I think while I demo it, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disable my my Tailwind CSS, but you guys make sure you've enabled it, right? But I'm gonna disable it primarily for one reason, which is because you guys can't see what I'm typing as I type it. I think it'll be easier for you to see. I need to just quickly spin up my app. No, I don't. That's all good. Okay. That way it doesn't keep covering the screen, right? Oh, nice. Dev Mentor Live. Welcome to the Papa Firm special tier as well, dude. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Right, if you guys want to become a Papa Fam YouTube member, then feel free to click the join button. It massively supports the channel. It helps me to do this full time. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate you guys. Okay, so at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say, oh, that's awesome, dude. I can see you now in green. It highlights special. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to say on the medium screen, I want to add an extra margin. So I want to add a margin on the x-axis of, I think it was 2. Yeah, we're going to add a margin on the x-axis of 2. Now you can see we spaced it out nicely. Now check this out. Okay, that's looking pretty damn good, right? Looking pretty damn nice. And look, on the medium, on the small screen, it works perfectly nice. And then on the big screen, we've got this perfectly responsive middle aligned, centrally aligned search box, right? Looking nice, guys. Smash the thumbs up button if you're enjoying it so far and you're able. And don't worry, as I mentioned before, this is being broken down for absolute beginners. So take your time and do this at your own pace, okay? The whole point here is that you learn something, okay? So we've got this looking pretty nice. Now the search, the text here, I'm gonna change that a little bit. I'm gonna say the text should be small. I want it to be a slight gray, so I'm gonna say text gray of 600, okay? And now you can see it's a slight gray, and it's actually gray when I type, right? So if you may have thought they didn't change color, but that's because the placeholder is gray by default. I'm going to change the placeholder to be a slightly different color of 400. So placeholder gray 400, and that will go ahead and take effect. Now, in order to do that, actually, we need to add in, no, we don't. No, we don't. We're good. That's good. Yeah, placeholder 400. Nice. So at this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I think we're pretty much done with that. So we have everything being responsive. It looks pretty nice. And yeah, so we're done with the section here. This is looking pretty good. Diza says, out of context, but your beard and haircut are amazing. Thank you so much, dude. I do try. Mervan tells me off a bitch. She's like, you get a haircut too much. I'm like, we're on YouTube. Here's what it is. It's good. Thank you, dude. So now we're moving over to the right-hand side of the header. Okay. So we're moving on to the right-hand portion of the header. And again, guys, all the timestamps are going to be on the video after it's up today. So we aim to do it very quickly afterwards. So you're going to see everything broken down. It's going to be super easy to follow along. Skip to where you want to get to. Okay. Alfred says, are 6 to 8 months enough to be a junior dev? 100 million%, especially in size 0 to full stack hero. 1 billion%. Yeah, I think 1 to 3 months even. Right. So div on the right hand side over here is the next portion. What we're going to have here is a bunch of things. We're going to become a host and a few different icons. Got a globe, menu, and a person icon. So we're going to click become a host. Okay. So I'm going to do a p tag and I'm going to say become a host. Oops. Become a host. Hit save. Now you can see it pops up. Now you can see it's not aligned the way that it needs to be. So I'm going to show you how to fix that and get that working as well in the way that we need it. Right. Then I'm going to import 3 icons that I'm going to need to use later on. I'm actually going to import a few icons that I'm going to need throughout this component. So I'm going to go ahead and pop them in right here. You guys can feel free to add them in as well. We've got a few additional icons. So we already had the search icon. I've added in these 4 icons. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in the little globe icon over here. Right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in globe. Alt icon, and I'm going to self and close it, right? And if we hit save, it's huge, breaks everything, looks awful. So I'm going to add in some styling. Again, Tailwind CSS for the win. Give it a height of 6, right? 6 more likes. Oh, 2 more likes to 600. Let's go, guys. Absolutely crushing it. Just past 600 likes. That's insane. Awesome stuff. This just makes me hyped, man. Makes me so hyped. Right, for this div, I'm going to make sure it's actually a flex box because right now it's stacked up in a block view, okay? And then there you go. Looks really nice, okay? And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to space this out. So all the components that I put inside of it, I don't want to add in padding for every single component. When you're using Tailwind, you can do a very nice, powerful little feature here and actually go ahead and type in space along all the X children components of 4. And now it will space out all the components that are inside that container with 4. Right? And you can go ahead and play around with the values, change it up as much as you want. 600 likes, let's hit 700. Let's just keep going. Let's get our number up, guys. Right? And then we're going to go ahead and type in, after that, we're going to say that we want to make it items in the center. So I'm going to say flex items center. And now you can see it drops centrally aligned. So at this point, we've now centrally aligned our elements, which is looking pretty nice, right? Looks exactly as I want it. And then what we're going to say is justify end. Justify end. And what this does is it positions it at the end of the element as opposed to by default at the start of the element. Okay. I saw a really nice comment, but you spammed it, so it gets blocked. So try not to spam. Justify end. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and actually change the color. I'm going to make it a text. I'm going to make it gray, and I'm going to use a shade of 500, which is in the middle in the gray spectrum. That's looking pretty clean. Next portion is these two. Now, can anyone guess what I'm going to do here? We have 2 elements and we've got a little border around it. So naturally, we think of this as a container, aka a div. So what I then do is I pop a div around it. So I'm going to go here, pop a div around it. There you go. And then, Prashun says, click on the shiny join button for supporting this amazing channel. Yeah, thank you so much, dude. Honestly, click it if you want to support the channel. Really massively appreciate. We're going to add a menu icon inside this little div, self-closing. And we're also going to add in a user circle icon. Okay, now you're probably wondering, you added it and I saw something move, but there's nothing there. It doesn't work. That's because we need to give it some styling, right? So over here, I need to say it's a class name with a height of 6. Okay, and here I'll say it's a class name of a height of 6 as well, right? We'll give it 6 all around. Okay, looks good. Now you're probably wondering, but Sonny, we gave it flex. What the hell's going on? Every time you create a new div, it defaults to block, which is stacking, right? So that, remember, every single kind of, nested container can have its own layout. So what we're going to do here is we're going to give that one a flex box as well. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit nicer to do it. Rangels production, email papareact.team@gmail.com and we'll help you out, dude. Don't worry. So here I'm going to go ahead and div and I'm going to say class name equals flex, and you'll see immediately it pops into the center. Then I'm going to say items should be centrally aligned. Oops, inside of that would help. Item center. And I'm going to say space X of 2, which should space them out a little bit more. I'm going to give it a border of 2, which pops in a border, a padding of 2, which spaces it out a little bit, and then a rounded full, which makes it a rounded border. And as simple as that, you can get a lovely looking UI, right? Now for those globe icons, I want them to be, hoverable, so I can say cursor pointer and things like that. And then this suddenly becomes a nice clickable element. Looks very clean, looks really slick and nice. Okay. So what we're going to do then, and remember guys, if you're enjoying this, not only smash the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe. There's over 50% of you that are watching right now that aren't subscribed. I really appreciate it. It makes this channel go to the moon and above, and we are growing to 1 million. That's all. I'm not stopping until we hit it and above. So keep going. And remember, if any of this gets too confusing at any point, the React Basics link for a complete breakdown of React is actually available for free right now in the description. It's a link. It says, if you find this too difficult, it's a link to Skillshare, 1 month free. You get my React Basics course for free. So I hope that helps you out. Right? Let's carry on. Thank you, Mohammed. That's awesome comment, dude. So what we're going to do is on a small screen, that looks a bit messy. So I want to hide that on mobile first view, and then I want to include it after a certain size. So the way I do that is where we have become a host, I'm going to apply some styling. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, you know what? That should actually be hidden by default. So there we go, mobile first. But on the medium screen, I want it to become an inline element. So medium screen, become an inline element. And you could say, in a flex, whatever. But in this case, now when I do this, it only comes available on the medium screen. Right? So as you see, as we hit that medium breakpoint, a lot of things happen. Now that's a little bit of a crunch. You can go ahead and modify that if you want. But most likely, they're not going to be at that exact portion. It'll be this, or that. There's typical breakpoints that you style for. Okay, looking pretty good, guys. Let's carry on. So we've got that looking nice, and I'm going to actually make that a cursor pointer as well, because that way you should be able to hover over it. It looks like a link. It looks really nice. cursor pointer, save. Okay, nice stuff, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and let's have a quick water break and let's keep this going. The retention today is incredible, 600 across platforms. Right. Path says, Sonny, you're the one who taught me React, and now you're the one teaching me Next and Tailwind. Thanks a lot, dude. Well, you know, thank you so much for tuning in. That's all I can say. Incredible stuff. All right. So we've got this working, looking pretty slick now. All right. The header is done. We are done with the header. Now we are going to move to the banner. Right. So what we're going to now do is build out another component, which is the banner. The banner represents this gorgeous looking image over here. Again, it's going to be nice and responsive, and it's going to look pretty damn cool. And I'm going to show you how to get that picture looking just like that in the way that we need to do it. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and, guys, remember, smash the thumbs up. We're almost at 700 likes. I'm going to go ahead and create this banner component. Command B to open this up. Go over here, go into our components folder, click on the new file and type in banner.js. Underscore RFCE to go ahead and get our nice little snippets. And then inside the banner, we can go ahead and code a few things. Now here, I'm just gonna say H1 I am banner. Save. And then let's just get this working firstly. Go back to my index. Over here, I'm gonna say banner. And remember, we get this nice little auto import. Hit enter. And look, it automatically did the import for me. If it doesn't work, don't worry, don't freak out. But you can see now it comes up on the screen. So try and do things in that sense, right? Jamie Davies, yes, it's called a hero image. So yeah, you know what? You could call it a hero image. That's the actual correct design term. You have a massive kind of image element, I guess, on the screen. You know, like the top image. That's called a hero because it's like the main image that you should be looking at, the hero. That's what we typically call it in design language, yes. Let's carry on. I'm a banner. So I'm gonna go into that. It confused me for a sec. I was like, what am I seeing here? So I'm gonna click on that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and import the image component that we used previously from Next.js. So import image from Next.js, next/image. And then I'm gonna go ahead and replace that with actually something a bit more useful, which is the actual image component. Capital I, be careful, self-enclosed component. The source for that image is gonna be the following. I'm gonna pop in this source right here. Links up over at 0fm is the one that you're looking for, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. And there you go. So now we've got image with source, must be used with, and blah, blah, blah. So we get the same issue, right? Remember, you have to prepare it for it. So we say layout fill, in this case, layout fill. And then you're going to see another slight issue. Oops, what have I done there? Yeah, so now you can see it takes up the full width. We don't want that, right? We don't want it to take up the full width. It doesn't look nice. It doesn't, you know, do what we need. Firstly, I'm going to make it not stretch. Now, you previously saw object fit contain, which keeps the aspect ratio, but I want to do something called cover, and that will maximize it, right? But it will kind of, you know, zoom into the picture as opposed to, you know, contain it. So in this case, I mean, it looks kind of cool, right? It looks kind of cool, like a huge picture. It's kind of like dramatic how we've got this kid and dog and, like, you know, Papa React walking. Maybe that's me, I don't know, right? But at this point, we're going to go ahead and make that a bit more, you know, styled up. So we're going to go here, div, and then I'm going to say class name equals, and I'm going to say relative. So it should be relative to the size of that container. In this case, it disappears because when you make it relative, you have to define a height and a width, okay? Or just a height in this case. So what we're going to say here is the height should be, you know, in this case, you can give it a certain value. Now, it doesn't just work in the sense of I can type in like 67. There are certain steps up. You can use the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense extension that I talked about earlier to go ahead and do it. But what I'm going to say is you can actually use something which is pretty cool in just-in-time compiler mode. So the latest version of Tailwind, which we have right here, we can go ahead and add these square brackets, and we can go ahead and add in exact values. So in this case, I want to make the height 300 pixels. Now that's pretty cool, right? Obviously that's not ideal. Really, we want this behavior, right? Where it looks like that, but it scales up in a nice way. So, okay, mobile first. Remember, mobile first. Everything is mobile first when we're styling. That's a good principle. So we're gonna say, okay, mobile first is height of 300. Then what I wanna do is on the small screen, because mobile is not small, small is actually bigger than mobile. We're gonna say the height should go up to, let's just say 400 pixels, okay? And then on the large screen, we're gonna go up to, you guessed it, 500 pixels. 500 pixels. And then on the even larger screen, the extra large, we're gonna go up to a height of, let's say 600 pixels. And then finishing it off, 2XL is going to have a height of, and this one was 700 pixels. So we're just stepping up in the different screen sizes. Now, if I go ahead and do this, look how it nicely goes ahead and actually resizes. Right, until you reach the final big size. There you go. Look at that. Now we get this very awesome kind of, you know, responsiveness to it. Right, and there's many ways you can do that. You can go ahead and use a %, you can use rem sizing, whatever you want. This is one example with exact absolute pixel sort of values, and that only works with just-in-time compiler with Tailwind. Okay, really nice little feature. We've got the image working. The next thing I want to do is do something called absolute positioning. So this is actually a little div in its own, so not sure where to go in this button here. And I'm going to absolute position. Now, what the hell does that mean? It means that I can position wherever I want on the page. That is what we call an absolute position. Now, if you use this recklessly, you're going to start seeing an element just fly off into the corner of the screen, or, you know, go way off through somewhere that you're not going to see. And you want to be careful about using it. So the way that you contain an absolute positioned element to the container, so that way it doesn't fly off somewhere so far, is you go ahead and make the parent relative. Okay, so we've already done that because we did that for the actual image itself. We made the parent relative. So what we're actually going to do now is we're going to go ahead and pop in a div. And this div, and I'm going to show you a little trick. If you write div for then the crocodile bracket with a p tag inside, it makes a div with a p tag. Pretty sick, right? You're going to have to set up Emmet to make that work. And here you're going to say not sure where to go, question mark, perfect, dot. Right, and then you can see, Sonny, where the hell is it? I don't see it. I don't see what you're talking about. It doesn't come up on my screen. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and fix that. I'm gonna go ahead and say class name for that div is gonna be absolute. And then you can see it comes up and it flies to the top left, like I mentioned, but it's relative to the container that we're in. So you see it actually contains it to the parent. Right, so this is where absolute positioning is really powerful, provided you make the parent relative. Otherwise, you're relative to the page, in which case you fly off to the top of the corner of the page. And that's a headache. When you're learning absolute positioning in the beginning, it becomes like, oh, don't use that because it's scary. If you just make it like that, it's not too bad, right? So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say the top should be, let's say, half. And that means it will go to half the page. And the width should be full. Right, and that means, okay, but you didn't do anything. That's because if I make the width full and the text central, boom, it goes really nicely actually in the corner over there. Okay, so it looks kind of good on this screen. On this screen, it's kind of big though, right? So the p tag now, I can go ahead and do mobile first styling. I can say the text should be by default small, right? But on a small screen, it's going to go ahead and be text large. So on a small screen, looks really nice, but on the bigger screen, boom, it becomes a large. Oh, what's up, Samit? Thank you so much. $5 donation. Keep up the energy, brother. Talk to you soon. Samit is awesome, guys. He is actually crushing it for a company right now. He was tuning into the early challenges back in the day. It's been an OG since this channel started. So absolutely crushing it. Love to see, you know, our support for the Papa Fan members. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate you. So not sure where to go. Looks really nice. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in the button I'm flexible. Now you won't believe it, all of that, the clickable, dynamic element styling, everything that looks sick in what you're seeing there, all comes from Tailwind. So what I'm going to do, oh, this is a vibe whenever this song comes on, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go underneath the P tag and we're going to go button, okay? Now the button is going to say I'm flexible. Right, and I'm going to give it a lowercase f, so I'm flexible. Now, of course, that doesn't look that great. Now, the reason that you might not be used to using Tailwind as well is because when we use Tailwind, it strips all the styling, which means H1, H2, H3, they all look the same. And this is because it then allows you to go ahead and apply utility classes to a blank canvas, no matter what element you're using. That's awesome because then you can go ahead and configure the styling. Otherwise, you're going to have to always fight with a H1 style or H2 style or any other thing. That's why I don't like Bootstrap. That's why I like Tailwind. It actually allows you to define what the style looks like. So massive use for it there. Let's go ahead and continue on. So for this button, I'm going to go ahead and give it a class name. Now pay attention to this one because this is where it gets pretty cool. I'm going to first give it a text purple 500. Text purple 500. Now the text went purple. Obviously, you know, shade in the middle somewhere. Right. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to say that the background should be white. Right. Oops. BG white. Right. looks pretty nice, but you can't see it much. That's because we need to give it a bit of padding. So I'm going to say the padding on the x-axis should be 10. Padding on the y-axis should be 4. And immediately we can start to see that button a bit more. Okay. The next thing that pretty much immediately, pushes it out is we say shadow -MD. And now it's got a shadow, and that immediately makes it pop. Right. So it's very visible now. The next thing you can naturally guess, make the corners rounded full. Right? And you can do things like rounded LG, and it makes it, less of a rounded corner and so forth. And in this case, I would like to do rounded full. And Rakesh says, Tailwind's pretty awesome. Feels like a shortcut to the classes you would have manually otherwise created. Yes, exactly. It's pretty much a shortcut to go ahead and, adding all, when you do it manually, and especially CSS module style components, whatever you decide, I've used them all, and it's just slower, right? Whereas Tailwind is so fast, it ensures consistency, very nice style palette, color palette, and it's just got loads of benefits to using it. It's definitely my favorite go-to, right? Rounded full. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say font bold to change the text to a bold. And then we're going to make the text itself actually become, so first I actually want to add a little margin on the y-axis of 3 because we're touching, not sure where to go. I don't want it to touch it. So I'm going to add a margin. Margin is actually on the outside of the component. Padding is inside the component, all right, or element. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some pretty cool things here where I can pretty much go ahead and, how do we do that? Right, that's called a hover state. When I'm hovering over it, when I click it, it's called an active state. You can target these things in Tailwind CSS very easily. So what I can say is, okay, firstly, let's tag all the hover state. I'm going to say when we hover, I want the shadow to become an XL. So I want the shadow to become slightly bigger. Whoa, Jimmy! 19.99 bloody pound, 20 pound donation. He says, love your teaching style. I've learned so much. Dude, I love you, dude. Thank you. Thank you for that wicked donation. Sushi. I'm going to call Mabel. We're going to have some sushi. Thank you so much to Jimmy. Appreciate you, dude. If you saw the last challenge, I used Jimmy as an example when I was doing a little demonstration of how a developer can make money. It's a really cool one. All right. But thank you, dude. Appreciate you. So at this point, you can see this, right? And it's got a nice shadow to it, but I'm going to go ahead and actually make the size change as well, right? So in this case, when we actually go ahead and click it, I want it to become a little bit more. Frank, $10 donation. Let's go. Tailwind is awesome. Frank, I hope you're enjoying Tailwind, dude. Frank always comes in clutch. $10 donation. Thank you so much. Man, more sushi for me. So in this case, you can see, look, we get the nice kind of, it looks like it moves, but really we're just changing the shadow. Very nice little trick, right? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say when it's active, I'm going to scale the button. So when I click it, active state, scale 90%, right? So in this case, look at that. It looks like I click it now, but this one is really smooth and this one is kind of horrible, right? Whereas this one is like, smooth. How do I add that transition? Well, the way we do it in Tailwind is we say transition, right? And we say a duration. I'm going to say the duration is 150. You can give it a different range, 100, 200, 300. There's a few different ones. 150 is quite nice. And now that applies a transition to all your, even when you have this animation between the shadow, which means it even looks like it moves. So did you notice how when we add that slight animation, it literally looks like it lifts off the page now, but it's not actually moving, right? It's crazy what design can do. So this is really nice at this point in time. We're just about to break 700 likes. This is goddamn crazy. Wow. Honestly, if you're enjoying this, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and we're going to keep on crushing, Papa Fam. Let's go. This is looking sick. Look at that. So we are pretty much at the point where we just finished the banner and we just finished the header. So we've got the fun part now, all of this goodness, right? Explore nearby, live anywhere, and then this kind of thing. So we're going to split this up. We've got a few sections here. And then we've got the small cards. So I'm going to be calling these small cards. I'm going to call in these ones medium cards. And you can see there's a scrollable carousel. And then we've got this large card here. Okay. And as you can see, each one is going to perfectly respond. And in fact, if you haven't guessed already, we're going to use grid over here. So grid column of 4. And as it gets smaller, grid column 3, grid column 2, grid column 1. Whereas here we're going to have an overflow. So you're going to learn all of this cool stuff. Okay. So yeah, add Tailwind to your resume, dude. This is the time to do it. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and continue on with the build. So I want you guys to go into your index.js next, and we're going to go ahead and map this out now. So inside of index.js, we're going to have something called a main section. This is going to resemble the main portion of the screen. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to have all of those different small cards, right? And that's going to be like, you know, what we have, and that's going to pretty much resemble this. So this is going to be called a section. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to have a section, and this section is going to have a H2 because it's like a subheading, which says explore nearby. Right, we're going to tackle this section right here first, the explore nearby part, right? So this part here, this part here, this is what we're tackling. Okay, so explore nearby, there we go. And I'm going to actually style this right now. Let's go to class name, and let's actually give this a nice little bit of styling. We're going to say it's text. I'm going to give it 4XL, so text goes up quite a big amount. You can check the Tailwind docs, by the way, if you want to know all the different, you know, utility classes yourself. And that's going to help you guys out quite a bit. Frank, thank you so much. He goes, the Pap React team are awesome. These builds will help a lot of people develop a solid portfolio. Exactly, dude. That's my main mission, man. So we're going to make it font semi-bold. I always do this. Why am I doing that? Font semi-bold. And then I'm going to say padding on the bottom of 5. Okay, that looks kind of cool, right? And you're probably wondering the padding bottom isn't taking place. It's because it's going to attack this bit. I'm going to style the actual section itself in just a second. I'm going to say padding top here of 6. Right, there you go, and it pushes it away. Now the main section, okay, I'm going to give this a bit of styling here. Now notice something in this one. You notice how this entire section, right, so this entire main kind of, you know, container that we've got over here never really goes past the max width, right? So it's kind of got this max width restriction from here all the way over here, right? So it's kind of max width over here, but it remains in the center. The reason why that happens is because we apply something called max width 7XL. Max width 7XL. So it'll never get bigger than that width if we set a kind of constraint, okay? So then what we're going to do is do MX auto to make sure that it's always central. If we don't do MX auto, it'll be left aligned here and it will end somewhere around here, okay? So that actually does it quite nice. I can see some of you guessing beforehand. It's awesome to see that you guys actually get it right a lot of the time as well. So now if I try this out, you see how it restricts it over here, okay? But if I didn't have the, if I didn't have MX Auto, you're gonna see it actually fly to the left and it would probably end there. So that's why we do MX Auto, and that means a margin X on the, so it will automatically configure the spacing on the left and right. So it'll centralize itself, okay? So at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type in padding on the X-axis of 8. I don't want it to touch the side ever, right? So that's mobile friendly. But when we get to a bigger size, so on a small screen, so that's bigger than a mobile view, I'm actually gonna increase that to a padding of 16. Right, and the reason why is because it looks kind of nice on the bigger screens to have a little bit more. So you see how it's slightly changed there, but because everything sort of snaps at the same time, it's very hard to figure out where that happens, right? So that's going to help you out quite a lot. So we have explore nearby, nice, looks pretty good. And then we're going to go ahead and actually have, inside this section, we need to implement these. Now these are the cards, right? Now this is where we do a bit of nice kind of Next.js magic. So these cards are going to get pulled through from a server, all right? Now the server endpoint, so we're going to go ahead and pull some data from a server, right? And these API endpoints are already made. Right? I've already created them. They're super easy to pull from. And we're going to go ahead and use something called server-side rendering to make this possible, okay? And there's two ways of doing it. You can either have two types of like a sort of server rendering. You can have something called static rendering or server-side rendering. Now, in the case of a home screen, the data is not really likely to change so much. So we can actually put something called static rendering in action, I guess. So in this case, we're going to do static rendering. But if you have information which is likely to change a bunch, right? So imagine this, news articles are being constantly changed. Then you want to use server-side rendering, which means that every request that comes in, it will regenerate the page. When we do static rendering, it prepares it once, it caches it on a server, and then anytime a user comes, it just delivers that same copy. right? But that's a problem. It can easily get outdated if there's new information kind of flowing in. So I'm going to show you an example of static rendering for the home page. And then on the second sort of tomorrow, when we do the search results, we're going to use server-side rendering. So that way you're going to use both static rendering and server-side rendering. Static rendering gets redeployed when you do when you actually release the build to the internet. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and actually include it here. So the way we include static site rendering is we go ahead and include a function. All we need to do is actually say export asynchronous, because this is actually an asynchronous function, because it's going to be doing a bunch of network work before it actually reaches the browser. And we're going to say it's a function, and you have to use a special function name here. You'd use something called get static props, okay? And then you write the function like so. Now this, just by having it inside of the index.js file, this only works in pages sort of components, by the way. Just by having it here tells Next.js that this is going to do some clever server rendering stuff. Now I'm going to give you a quick breakdown about as to how this differs from normal React, okay? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open up a terminal, and I'm going to make it full screen. I'm going to draw on this, right? So typically what we have when we're coding is we have React, okay? So typically we have a browser, and I'm going to go ahead and freeze it. There we go. Typically we have a browser. Now this is what the user sees, right? They have some information on the screen. Typically this is in React, okay? So a user typically comes to the website, and they just get delivered this when you're using React. It's called a bundle, a React bundle. So when you release a React app to the website, or deploy it online, a user comes to the website, they get the entire React bundle. Now the entire React bundle, sure, it loads pretty quick. It's definitely a pretty good thing. Better than using raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for sure. You get the power of React. But the problem comes when your app gets a bit bigger. This is where Next.js comes in. Next.js essentially adds in additional steps. So what Next.js does is it kind of, and I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. Next.js introduces a server. Okay, so let's think of this server as sitting between the 2 points, right? This is why you have to deploy Next.js apps slightly different. You have to have a server running to go ahead and use it. Okay, so what happens is the user makes a request to go to the site, but what they don't see happening behind the scenes is the user really makes the request to a server, and then the server delivers the page, right? So what actually happens is, imagine we go to index.js, the user requests to go to the homepage. So imagine they go to papareact.com. Okay, so they go to papareact.com, and then they go to this page. Now they don't need the entire app, right? So the server knows that, okay, they're just visiting the home screen. So all I need to do is pre-build the home screen and send only the home screen to the user, right? And that page is loaded with React. Now, what we can do really nicely here is we can, cut out a lot of weight, or we can cut out tons and tons of weight inside the application, which is then delivered to the browser. That means that the user experience is way faster to load. It's going to be a hell of a lot more powerful, because now you can do loads of kind of cool things on the server to prepare these pages beforehand. And that means when users come to the site, it's so fast to deliver the pages. Okay. So what we now do is we have this middle ground server. So as I mentioned before, if you use static rendering, which is the default thing that happens in Next.js, when we release or deploy our website, it gets put over here, and it basically builds these pages beforehand. So it will have these pages pre-built, and it just delivers them as and when the user kind of comes in. So it's super fast. If we include something called server-side rendering, right, then what happens is every time the user comes to the website, it will go ahead, build this page fresh with fresh information, and then it will deploy it. It's still quicker than doing the entire React app, because all we're giving them is the one page they're visiting. So if they go to, let's just say, the contact me page or the challenge page, for example, then all they're going to get is the challenge page. They're not going to get the entire app. So it's way faster and way better to use Next.js over typical React, just for that one reason as well, right? It has a bunch of other benefits, but that is a kind of a quick breakdown as to why we do it. So at this point, when we do the static props, we are actually going ahead and actually doing this step right here. So we're going to say, okay, when we're pre-building the page at this point, I want to fetch some information, so that way I can build this page really nicely. Okay, what's nice is that we can pre-fetch this information in a bit of code, which is what we're going to do now, and then we can pass it over as something that's called props to the component. So it was actually a lot simpler than it all kind of sounds, right? Don't worry, when we actually mess around with this, it's gonna be super easy. Get static props. Now what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna make a call to that API. So I'm gonna say const, and I'm gonna say the explore data, right? So this is gonna be responsible for all the data that you see here. So what we're gonna do is, this is an asynchronous function. So if I make any kind of request to, you know, any endpoint on the internet, I have to do an await, right? Oh, we just got a donation, $30 from Aaron San. Dude, thank you. You've been an OG since day. Thank you so much, man. That's huge. $30. That means we are at a huge chat revenue, touching around, well, I think it's £80 right now. That's incredible, guys. Hugely appreciate that. We're gonna say await. We're gonna say fetch, and this is how we basically make a fetch to an endpoint. Oh my God, we have another one from Tino. Wow. He says, thank you for everything that you do, Sonny. I've been waiting for so long to be free to do one of these challenges and really hope to land a coding job soon with the daily drive and new knowledge. Here's £50 and some love. Dude, I don't know what to say. Thank you so much. That's incredible amount of support. Thank you. I honestly just huge, massive appreciation right there. I'm grateful. I'm massively grateful, dude. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this. Yeah, so let's continue on strong, guys. Huge, right? Oh my God, massive. So we're gonna make a fetch, right? And now I'm gonna show you what we're actually gonna pull, right? So in this case, I'm gonna go to this endpoint over here, right? So I'm actually gonna fetch. Now you can actually see what is at this endpoint if you just put in a browser. This is gonna go ahead and pull the following. So you see, this is actually pulling some JSON information. Okay, so as you can see, it pulls a JSON array, and this array right here contains a couple of objects, and each object has an image, a location, and a distance. Right, so this is going to be eventually shown on the screen like so. Right, Tino, dude, that was huge, man. Honestly, thank you so much. I can't get over that. Wow. Right, so at this point we've got image, location, and distance. So what I want to do now is I want to pull this in. So we're going to pull that information into, you know, our code base. And then what we need to do is, remember, when we make a request, it comes back with all this excess information, the headers, all this other kind of, you know, information that you might want to use. But all we need is that JSON that we can then go ahead and show on the screen. So what we do is we say dot then, right? And then here I just say the result, right, or the response is going to be passed, and we just want the result.json. Okay, and what that does, guys, is it goes ahead and it just gets us the JSON information, which is essentially this. So now I get this inside this variable. Okay, once we do that, I need to return it to my functional component up here, because this stuff is actually happening on the server. Anything inside of get static props, get server side props, whatever we do down here is happening on the server beforehand. It happens at this point before we reach the actual browser, because this is actually where the browser is, right over here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I need to return it to that functional component at the top. Okay, thank you so much, Code Edits. He goes, I'm going to go for a run, but I'm going to carry on with this. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate you, man. All right, so at this point I'm going to say return, and what's really cool here is that you simply return it as something called props. Pretty much stands for properties, right? And what happens here is this takes an object, and you can pass whatever you want. So I'm going to pass explore data, right? So the key is explore data and the value is explore data. Now in ES6, you can go ahead and shorthand this. You can go ahead and pass it back like this. So what this does is well, the information that we had over at the server, we pass it to our functional component over at the browser level, right? So what happens now is over here, we actually get props. So if I wanted to go access something, I can say props.explore data, and I'll get access to this information that was rendered on the server. Okay. What I can then do is ES6 allows us to pull apart. It's called destructuring. If you want to know what destructuring is, we cover it all in React Basics. So you can go, feel free to check it out on the Skillshare link down below, and that should help you out. But we can go ahead and pull it apart here and say explore data. So curly braces, and that will pull it apart. So now I don't have to write props.explore data. I just say explore data. Okay. So at this point, I have my beautiful kind of explore data coming through. Okay, so we've got this stuff happening here. So now what I can do is I got this information on the front end. So I can say explore data, and now I want to do something clever. I want to map through it. Now map is something that basically goes through all of these items that come back, and it will give us each item, and we can do something with the item that kind of gets shown on the screen. In our case, we want to render one of these components every time we run through that loop. So every time we run through the loop, the way we do it is we say dot map, and we don't do a for each because a map returns a value. So we say map. So every single item, and we should give it a name that makes sense, right? In this case, we're going to call it something like, you know, let's just say item, right? And this item, we pass in. So if you put parentheses here, not curly braces, parentheses, it means it's going to return a bit of JSX. So if I type in H1 and just say item, so JSX item, if you put the curly brace, it allows you to have JavaScript inside your HTML. So you say item dot, let's just give it a test and we say item dot location. Now what you're going to see, guys, is if I go back to my code, it's going to say undefined is not an object, I'll explore the areas not. So we need to make this actually, we need to actually double check something firstly. So I'm going to go ahead and debug my code. Okay, there you go. I just had to refresh. There you go. London, Manchester, Liverpool. But to protect yourselves, you want to do something called optional chaining. That means that if for whatever reason it's not there or it's undefined, it will handle it gracefully. That's what we say. It could be there, it might not, but it's going to be there. So just protect yourself. Now you can see it's pulling the information from our endpoint, but we're rendering on the screen. What you can do then is you can destructure it even further. Right? You can get the image, the location, all that stuff away from it. But I'll keep it simple. I just have item for here, right? Now, rather than doing it all here and you know, having all the code over here, I'm going to go ahead and guys, we're about to break 800 likes. Smash the thumbs up button if you're watching this right now. Share it on social media. Hashtag Papa Challenge. Keep crushing them and sign up to day 5 if you haven't already. Let's keep killing it. We're going to create the SmallCard component to represent this. Okay. So Command B, go to my components and I'm going to go ahead and type in SmallCard.js. Oops. SmallCard.js underscore RFCE for our boilerplate code. And then inside of here, what do you think I'm going to do, right? So I actually want to get this information passed through. So again, every component in React can take props, which means properties. Now, props are basically something that, remember I mentioned we can reuse these components. The way we reuse it is we use the same component, but we pass in different properties, right? So that's what the props are for. These are pretty much the same way that we write an attribute to anything. We pass it in the same way. So in this case, I want to pass in 3 props, right? Now you can do it in a simple way, but in this case, I'm going to destructure. So I'm going to say the props will be image, location, and distance. And this is because this is what they have on the endpoint over here. Okay. So Gagan says, love your courses, the way you teach Next.js. Thank you so much. We'd appreciate you. So we're going to go ahead and pass these in. Now, how do I actually really pass that through? Because this is on the functional component side. If we go back to our index, where I actually render a small card. So you see, we're going to do the auto import trick here. And you see small card from components. Where we render that out, guys, I can actually pass it through similar to an attribute. So I can say the image is going to be the item.image, right? Then we're going to go ahead and continue on. We're going to say the distance is going to be equal to the item.distance. And then we're also going to say the location is equal to item.location. Okay, so every time we loop through, we're going to map it to these props inside of a component. That gets passed through over here and then we can use them, right? So that's how it works, right? So now what we do next is we go ahead and remember, whenever you map anything inside of React, you should always pass in a key. A key is a unique identifier. So that way, when React renders out that list of things on the screen, you have to do it in a clever way. You have to pass a unique identifier to each of the items. And that means that, say we add another kind of element to that list, if we don't pass a key, it re-renders the entire thing. Now, that's not a problem if you've got 4 things, but if you've got 1,000 things, it becomes an issue. It's worth knowing because you become a good React developer. So you're going to use something unique. In our case, we're just going to mess around. We're going to use something like the image itself, which is not the best thing, but if you should be using a key, right, from your backend. In this case, we don't have something, so I'm going to use image. It's okay for now, but if you want to use something like an ID, okay? So at this point, you can actually perform destructuring here. So if you wanted to, you can actually pull out the image, the distance, and the location, and get rid of all the item stuff here. So you can clean up your code like that. Benefits of ES6. There you go. All right. Test that it works. Right. So again, we don't get any error. That's a good sign. Let's go over to SmallCard. And now we're going to build out the small card. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to have two divs in this card. I want to have the left-hand side. I'm going to have the right-hand side. The left-hand side is going to have an image. The right-hand side is going to have the text like so. Okay, so how do we do this? Firstly, I'm going to need the image component from Next.js. Okay, let's get the music back up and let's kill it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and import the image tag from next image, and we're going to have a quick water break. Guys, we're moving strong. Keep with me. Remember, this is going to be up on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, so you can take your time afterwards. Right, 800 likes, killing it. Let's keep going, guys. Absolute crushing it. Right, so for the SmallCard, now what we do is we're going to render two divs inside. Remember the left-hand side, so the left and the right. So for the left-hand side, I'm going to render a div, and that div is going to have an image component inside of it. See how nice that was? But this is going to be a self-enclosed image component. Now this image component is going to have a source of image, right? And that's actually the image that we pass through as a prop. It's going to have layout fill, so we're going to do the same trick that we were doing earlier, right? This music is such a vibe. And then we're going to say the class name. I'm going to show you that afterwards because it's kind of cool. All right, now if I just save that, okay, that's horrible. Now why is that happening? Remember, if we do layout fill, it's going to fill the entire parent. So what we need to do here is we need to say class is relative. Now it will fill in its relative container. Now it doesn't show anything because we haven't set any kind of height. So I'm going to say that the div here should be a height of 16 and a width of 16. Okay, that's pretty cool. We've got this looking nice. I want to round the corners off though, right? So whether we have the image, I'm actually going to go ahead and say rounded LG. And what that will do is we can actually, oh, oops, sorry, I've messed that one right up. We're going to go ahead and give this a class name. There we go. And I'm going to say rounded LG, rounded LG. Oh, nice. Thank you, Gustavo, for joining the Papa Fam special YouTube membership. You can literally join it by hitting the join button on the screen. Dude, incredible stuff. Thank you for supporting the channel. That really helps us honestly keep doing what we're doing full time. So thank you so much. All right, so you've got this now. We've got this explore nearby. Looking pretty nice, looking pretty good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in the text. Okay, so we're going to add in the right div. Now this is going to have a H2 element inside of it. And we're going to have a H3 as well. So we're going to prepare ourselves. The H2 is going to have the location and the H3 is going to have the distance. Okay. So now you can see London, 45-minute drive. Remember, by default, it's a block, which means these containers stack up. I want to make it a flex box. So that way it goes by default into a row. So I go into my class name and say, okay, you should be a flex box. Now it's a row. All right. Actually, no, sorry, not this one. This one should be stacked up. The actual overall container should be a flex box. Right? Looks a lot better that way. It's not centered. You know, this is actually not centered. So what I should say here is flex items center. And that is looking a hell of a lot better. Okay. So awesome stuff, guys. Looking really, really good at this point. And moderators are doing an awesome job as well. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and say the item should be centered. A margin of 2 should apply. So that way everything spaces out. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to, as I make these changes, look how awesome the changes are shown on the screen. I'm going to say margin top should be 5. Okay, so that way it spaces itself even more. I'm going to do space between all the X components of 4. So that means the text should space away from the first div, the left div. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say rounded XL. So that should round out if we have anything like a background, for example, which we will have. I'm going to make the cursor a pointer. So that way when you hover over it, it's going to be a cursor pointer. So now when I hover over it, boom, we get a nice cursor pointer. But I want this super slick background. You see the rounded applies there, but you see, I want this scaling effect. Okay. So let's continue on. So I'm going to go ahead and say cursor pointer. And then I'm actually going to say when we hover, I want the background to be gray and I want it a shade of 100. So it's gonna be super subtle. So there you go. We get these nice kind of, you know, it drops in like so. And remember that rounded comes into effect there. We do rounded XL. Okay. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna say when we hover over it, I want it to scale up. So I'm gonna say hover, scale, and I'm gonna do 105%. Okay. So you see now it scales up. But again, this one has like a really silky smooth scaling, right? So big kind of, you know, nice bit of you know, nice bit of work happening there. So at this point I'm going to say transition. and we're going to add in that transition effect. So transition, transform. Well, that's because we're going to make a transform, effect happen. And we're going to say the duration should be 200. Okay, looking kind of cool. But you notice how it's kind of different to this one, right? So really, you want it to snap in really quickly, but ease out, right? So what we can do is right now it's easing in, easing out. It's kind of I know it sounds weird, but the more you work with this stuff, the more you understand this. So if we do ease out, now you'll get a very nice kind of, it quickly comes in the screen and it eases out. So it kind of easily fades itself out. And that is looking nice. That is looking slick. That looks awesome, right? If you're enjoying that, go ahead and smash the thumbs up. That's damn cool. Literally nearly at 900 likes. Crushing it, guys. So explore nearby, moving strong. The right hand side is done. And with that said, we're going to change the text color to text gray 500. And we are pretty much done there, right? So you see it doesn't respond the way we need it to. So I'm going to go ahead and make it a bit more responsive in that aspect. So this is where we're going to go ahead and actually go to a level up, right? So we're done with the SmallCard. What I need to do now is where we render this out inside of index over here, I'm going to go ahead and surround our explore data. So all of these things popping in with a div. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this. I'm going to cut it, paste it in there. And this div, I'm going to make a class name. And this is going to have a grid system. By default, the grid automatically, you see it stays in a column. One column by default. Okay, remember it's mobile first, right? So by default, we're going to say it's columns 1. I'm just going to explicitly write it so you guys know what's happening. Okay. So at this point, when we hit the small breakpoint, I'm going to switch to a grid column of 2. Right? So if you see now, when we get to the small breakpoint, it goes to 2, but we don't account for any bigger size past that, right? So on the mobile, it's 1, small, it's 2, and then we step up. When it hits a large breakpoint, grid columns 3. And then when I hit the extra large, grid columns 4. And now, check this out. Boom. Works. Right? It's not touching the bottom yet because we need to add a bit of padding and so forth, but that is clean. That is really clean. It comes from the server, looks just as we want it. Boom. Right? Looking really, really nice. Now at this point, we're going to repeat this process, right? So if you enjoyed that, I would really recommend, maybe rewind and watch how we did the static props and stuff like that again, because we're going to go ahead and repeat this now for 2 more things. We're going to repeat it for the medium section or the medium cards, which are basically going to resemble this over here. We're going to slightly change the styling, of course. And then we've got the large card over here, right? Now this middle one, we're actually going to pull from the API. So this data is different to this data. This is going to be hard coded for large card, but this one is going to be pulled in as well. Okay. So let's continue on. Now down here, we're going to have another section. This section is going to have H2. This H2 is going to say live anywhere, right? And this is going to be basically that part there. Okay. So if we go down here, it says live anywhere at the bottom. This is going to have a styling. So we're going to say class name equals, and it's going to be text 4XL, and it's going to be font of semi-bold, and it's going to say padding on the y-axis of 8. And now you can see live anywhere pops up very nicely. Okay, looks pretty sleek, right? So now what we're going to do is, here says, does the square brackets with just-in-time work for all of the classes such as max width? I'd need to double check, but I'm pretty sure it may do for max width, but it's mainly for the height, width, and those classes. Even for colors, you can do it BG dash square brackets hexadecimal color. So I need to go ahead and actually pull in that other data. Okay, so we're going to call that data. We're going to call that data cards data. Vince Gabriel says, I think I'm in love with Tailwind, seeing how you use it. It's sick. I'm telling you, it's so good. And if you find that you have repeating classes, componentize it. Make it a component. Do it that way. We're going to go ahead and pull from another endpoint. So this endpoint is going to be slightly different. This one's going to be ZP1. So it's going to be /ZP1 from links.popularreact.com. It's going to have a bit more information like this, image and title. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const cards data equals await Thank you, British Cayman Films. He says stream quality is amazing. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much. Await fetch. And I'm going to go ahead and pop that in right there. So ZP1. I'm going to say dot then. I'm going to pass it to get the JSON. Remember, if you don't pass it, you get all that extra crap, and we don't always want it. And then how do we go ahead and pass it back to the functional component? The exact same way. We go ahead and say cards data, and we literally can go ahead and pull that through the component now, because that comes through as a prop. Okay. So now we have it on the front end, which means that in this section over here, oops, I actually spelled that wrong. Right. So now what we can do is, yup, you can. What's up, dude? Good to see you here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say cards data dot map. Again, same principle applies. Every item that we loop through, aka the thing on the list over here, we're going to go ahead and do parentheses, which means return. If you do the curly braces, if you do this, you're going to have to explicitly do this, return, sorry. You're going to explicitly return a bunch of stuff. But if you do it, but that allows you to have additional code here if you want to. But in this case, we don't want that. We just want to do a direct return for some JSX stuff. And what I'm going to do here is actually return the MediumCard component, which we haven't built yet. So I'm going to go ahead and build this right now. Go into my components, go ahead and create a new file called MediumCard.js _RFCE, boom. And then once we're inside of here, we're going to pull through the props. The props in this case are going to be the image and the title. If you're wondering where I got these from, this is the data format that we get back from our API. So we're going to stick with it. I'm going to go ahead and import this. And if you're wondering how the hell I did that, go to the end of the text here, control spacebar, auto import from components MediumCard. And you can see now I just pulled it in. Really nice, right? That's looking pretty good at this point. And now what we're going to do is we've got the MediumCard pulling through. So we're going to say item. Actually, what I want to pull through here is the key. And we're going to use the item image for that one. Again, if you have an ID, it's better. In this case, I'm just going to wing it with that. Two images could be the same, hence it's not the best key. I'm just going to be real with you. In this case, I'm going to say a key, the image that we pass through is going to be item.image. And then the final one is going to be the title, which is going to be the item.title. So what we're doing now is we're mapping through the values that we return back, and we're going to go ahead and render them, pass them through as props. Now again, ES6, you can do something called destructuring. So I can go ahead and put parentheses here, curly brackets, say image and title get pulled from that object. And now I can get rid of all the item dot. There we go. Looks really good. Hit save. Go back to our application. And now what we can see is we can see undefined is not an object, blah, 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 blah. We can refresh because it needs to fetch it for the first time. That's fast refresh bugging out. But again, I would recommend you still optional chain just to protect yourselves in the event that, you know, it doesn't work out or there's some reason, error for pulling that information. So at this point, MediumCard, how do I get this information actually out on the screen? I'm going to go to my MediumCard and I'm going to go ahead and style and build out the MediumCard now. Now this is going to consist of an image and then also a title. So in this case, an image and a title. So very simple. Okay. Yumi, what's up, dude? So we're going to go ahead and pull in the image component. Okay. So we're going to go here, pop in an image component. So close to 900 likes, guys. If you're watching and you haven't already, smash the thumbs up button. Appreciate it massively. Helps the channel grow. So inside of here, I'm going to pass in the image. Now again, we're going to use layout fill. And so at this point, layout fill requires that we're going to have to surround it in a div, right? Otherwise it's going to take up the entire screen. So I'm actually going to have a div with an image component inside of it. And again, this is a self-closing image component. The source is going to be the image. Okay. The layout is going to be the fill. Oops. Layout is going to be fill. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. Oops. And then if I hit save now, wait for it, it's going to freak out and it's going to take up the entire space, right? Again, we don't want that. Although this dog is kind of ugly. I mean, I love dogs. I'm a dog person. Let me know in the comment section, are you a dog or a cat person? I'm a dog person, right? Pugs are not my type. I have German Shepherds and a few of those. But I always thought pugs were a bit strange. Anyway, back to coding. So for the div here, I'm going to do class name equals relative. And that will actually go ahead and again restrict it to be only rendering like that for the component or the container that it's in. So it's only going to use up the space it has for that container. The image is now being sized relatively to its parent container. Okay. So Evan says dogs for sure. Oh yeah, dude. So in this case, we need to set a height and a width. So in this case, I'm going to say height of 80, width of 80. Okay. hit save. And now you see this. Look at that. Looks nice. Got images, right? Nice. Looks really good. Okay. So at this point, guys, oops, what am I doing? Back to the thing. Okay. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in that little text underneath. Okay. I really like this song. H3. And then here we're going to put in the title. Okay. So there you go, outdoor getaways, unique stays. Obviously what we actually want is this nice kind of scrollable carousel. You'll be really amazed at how easy it is to get from where we're at right now to that final goal. Stick with me, you'll see how we do that. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the styling of that text. It's kind of boring right now. So the text on mobile view should be 2XL, and we're gonna keep it as that actually. So the margin top should be 3 to space it out. Okay, looks pretty nice. Now the overall container div, I'm going to style this. When we hover over it, I want it to have cursor pointer. Okay. So now when I do this, there we go. We hover over it. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and say hover scale 105. Okay. So again, now we get the scaling effect. Again, look at that. It doesn't look that great right now though. Okay. It has this overlap. So we're going to fix all of this. I'm going to firstly apply a nice transition. Transform, transition. Duration is going to be 300. I don't want it to be super quick. Duration 300. And then I'm going to say ease out. Now remember what I said before. Ease out allows us to go ahead and it'll pop in really quick. But as you let go of it, it fades out really nicely. Okay. So at this point, looks very cool. All right. Codezilla, make sure you turn up day 5. I'll answer those questions. All right. So this is looking very nice at this point. Awesome stuff. Right. So I want to now get the layout like this, to make sure that we don't have this overlap and annoying issues. So we're done with the medium card. So the next step is go back to our index. Okay. Now inside index, where we actually render out the medium cards, I'm going to surround all of these inside of a div. Okay. So I'm going to write a div. I'm going to grab my cards data that gets rendered and paste it inside the div. So now it's contained in another container. Okay. And then what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and say style it. So it's got a class name. It should be a flexbox. Immediately a flexbox goes into a row, right? But you see what happens? It actually extends the entire screen. That is definitely a no-no. We don't want to do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is firstly, I'm going to space out the elements on the x-axis of 3 so they're not touching. But again, it's using up more screen than it should. We don't want that. So here I say overflow scroll. Dev Mentor Live says dog person for sure. Yeah, dude, I agree with you. I'm a dog person as well. I ain't got nothing against cats, but I'm just dog person. Overflow scroll. Now, if you see overflow scroll, it says anything that overflows the width of the page will add this little scroll bar in, and it allows us to scroll through the overflowing contents. That's what we refer to as overflow. Okay. So at this point, we can go ahead now. We get this nice scrollable aspect to it. Okay, so you see we're getting there, and again we actually need to add a rounded element to the medium card. So I'm going to quickly add that in because it's bothering me. So on the image I'm going to say class name equals, and I actually did, I think it was medium rounded XL we did. So I'm going to say rounded XL, and now you can see we get a nice little rounded effect, right? Now you see there's no overlap, but we still don't have the nice kind of finished aspect that we want, right? So what I'm going to do now is actually hide that scroll bar. So you can see here there's a scroll bar. Now I don't want that scroll bar. I want this kind of slick, you know, you just scroll with it with your fingers as you're on your computer. So what we can do here is we can actually use something called a plugin for Tailwind. So Tailwind is extensible. It means we can, you know, people can make plugins for Tailwind. Then we can go ahead and add it into our own configuration file for Tailwind and soup it up even more. So we're going to go ahead and add in scroll bar hide, which is a plugin for it. So in order to do this, we need to install Tailwind scroll bar hide, right? So the way we do it, Command J to pull up our terminal, go into our second terminal, and I'm going to do npm install Tailwind scroll bar hide. Okay, so you can see I entered it in there. This will go ahead and pull it into our project. Okay, so we've installed it into the project. So how do I upgrade my Tailwind now so it has it? Right, because by default we can't hide the scroll bar, super easy, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and say in the plugins, we simply type in require. Notice how it's an array, so we can actually have more than one. So I'm going to say require, and I'm going to pass in Tailwind scroll bar hide. So this now upgrades our Tailwind, so that way we have this additional scroll bar hide functionality. And you can go ahead and Google that library if you want to have a look at it. It's going to be really powerful. Eugene, you're welcome. He says, thank you for this Tailwind. It's amazing. Appreciate it, man. So at this point, where we've got the overflow, now I can say scroll bar hide. And just like that, I think it's scroll bar hide. Let me have a look. It's scroll bar hide. Yep. It's just like that. And this should hide. So what we actually need to do is we're probably going to need to restart our server to get that to kick in. So because we've made a configuration file change, I'm going to do Control C. I'm going to do npm run dev to restart my server. Okay. I'm going to refresh and now give it a second and it should pick up the new configuration file and wait for it. It should find that difference. It says compiled, built the page successfully. Go down and now we have no scroll bar. Looks very nice. No scroll bar at the bottom anymore. Okay, so now that we've done that, obviously it's kind of, it's a bit close to the bottom. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to add a little bit of padding, Command J to hide the terminal, P3, padding of 3, to give it a bit of padding so it doesn't get cut off when it zooms in. You see before, without the padding, it was getting cut off. So if I get rid of that, it actually cuts itself off. You see that so you give it a padding on the outer container to fix that. I'm going to do dash margin left of 3 because it actually padded it a bit away from the left. So we've correct that with a negative margin of 3. And now we have this beautiful scrolling container. Look at that, guys. Looking awesome, right? That is looking very nice at this point. And what I'm going to do now is actually show you right here. Look at that. Awesome stuff. All right. So we've done the live anywhere. Getting there, guys. We are so close, right? We're so close. We have the LargeCard, which is pretty quick, to be honest. And then we have the footer. And then I'm going to show you how to deploy this application so that way you can go ahead and submit your homework, get those bonus points in to win this challenge, submit it, and we're going to go ahead and have a party when this thing's over, right? But you guys can get your dream jobs by showcasing this. So we're going to create the LargeCard next, okay? So the LargeCard is a pretty interesting one. You see, we're going to build this out. Now it's going to be a hard-coded value. We're not going to pull this through. And we're probably going to go ahead and just make this one relatively simple. We're going to do Command B, create the LargeCard component. So I've kept it very simple for you guys to go ahead and follow along with me, _FC for our template code. And inside the LargeCard, we're going to accept 4 props. Okay. We're going to accept, let me go ahead and say, we're going to accept for the props here, we're going to destructure them. So we're going to basically go ahead and pull it apart. And I'm going to accept an image, a title, a description, and I'm going to accept a button text. Okay, so I'm going to make it a reusable component, a LargeCard, which is reusable. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll save this here, go back into my code, and I'm going to go ahead and pop in a LargeCard. And you see we auto import, and so that way we import it over here like so. Super nice, neat coding. Keep your environment clean, guys. Right here, I'll say the image is the following. It's going to be a nice shortened URL that I've saved for you guys. So this will go ahead and make it super easy. So image is like so. It's going to be a nice little URL. Yep, awesome stuff. And then, so I'm up says, this is live. How are the zoom edits? I'm literally zooming in and out on my trackpad. So that's how it works. Everyone's always wondering, like, how the hell did he do that? That's why I'm doing it. I'm going to say the greatest outdoors, right? And to save a bit of time, I'm going to copy the description and button text. There we go. And hit that, boom. Nice. So now we've got this LargeCard. Obviously nothing's rendering on the screen yet. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that with the image, title, description, button text. So we go over to our LargeCard now, and we need to start this up. All right. If you're enjoying this, guys, literally 7 likes away from 900 likes. That's crazy, guys. Honestly, wow. All right. So this LargeCard. Now the LargeCard in itself, because it's huge, I'm going to make that a section. Now it's up to you. You can make it a section, leave it as a div, whatever you really want to do. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and know what happened there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in the image component from Next.js image, because I'm going to use that as well here. I'm going to pop that in like so. And then we're going to have a few things. We're going to have 2 divs. The first div is going to be this, kind of image that we kind of, again, layout fill. Then we're going to absolutely position this relative to the parent to get this perfect positioning. Okay. Nice. Karen says, I can't decide what's more clean, the code or the website. Ah, nice, dude. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. 900 likes. Yep, you can. What's up, dude? Yo, this is what I'm talking about. This is the energy we need throughout these days, guys. Crushing it. This replay is going to be available on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch Feel free to take your pick. And remember, if you haven't already, sign up for that final day challenge. All right, we're going to have a huge training, ebook, everything crazy. I think we're going to hit 1,000 likes before this kicks off. All right, so let's go ahead and add 2 divs. The first one is for the image. The second div is going to be for that text. So we're going to pop in our image over here like so. And the image source is going to be the image that we pass through. So it's going to be, see how we're making it reusable? Super easy, right? Here we say layout is fill. Looks really nice. And then we're going to go ahead and say object fit cover. Remember, I showed you an example of contain. I showed you an example of cover, right? So we've got 2 examples in this case. And let's see what's happening. So right now it's not actually showing for some reason, but we're going to go ahead and fix that in a sec. Oh, it is, sorry. It's just flown up here. And that's because we need to make this relative. Remember, whenever you do that fill, it's going to not show it. So it's going to use up the entire sort of screen size. You want to make it relative to its parent to sort of contain it. So we're going to say relative height of 96 and a width. And actually here I want to say a min width. And this answers someone's question earlier. So I say min width 300 pixel. It works with dynamic, min width works with dynamic content as well. So that's pretty much what we want. When it goes ahead and gets smaller, we want to get to this we're going to achieve that design. Okay. So at this point, and again, if you want to extend the build, feel free, go ahead and take it as far as you want. But yeah, it'd be awesome. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take the image, which we've added a few things to here. I want to make the corners rounded. So I'm going to say class name is rounded 2XL. Okay, there we go. It looks really nice. And that's the design language today. I'm going to make the actual section relative as well, because I'm going to have that absolutely positioned text, which floats around over here. Right, so we have to make the parent relative, otherwise it'll fly off. We say PY is going to be 16, so that way it has padding on top and bottom. And then we say cursor pointer, because I want it to be a clickable element. Cursor pointer looks great. Now we've got that nice little bit on top of it. Now here we're going to have a H3 inside of here. This is going to have the title. Okay, so the greatest outdoors. You can see it pops in really nice. We're going to have a P tag which has the description. Okay. And that has, wish list curated by Airbnb. And then we're going to have that custom get inspired button on the screen. Okay. And then, so here we're going to have a button at the bottom of the screen. So we're going to say button. And then inside that button, I'm going to say button text. And that's going to be all the props that we pass through. Okay. Looks nice. So I'm going to basically get this to this very quick using Tailwind CSS. So if you enjoy it, let's get that like count up to 1,000, guys. Right. So at this point, I'm going to say div class name equals, and we're going to say absolute. And immediately, it's going to go ahead and, do some weird stuff. Like weird things are going to start happening. I'm going to say top 32. And because it's relative to the container, if I do top 0, you see how it's relative to that, but we've got padding here. So that's actually where it starts. But top 32 gets us there. And we're going to say, we actually want to kind of, left, go away from the left 12. And that's how we get to this point. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Krishna says, should I use Tailwind, Bootstrap, or vanilla CSS? I would say if you're learning, mess around with Tailwind. I wouldn't recommend Bootstrap. I'm not a fan of it at all. Tailwind and vanilla is the way to go. And then style composite, you can do all that stuff. But Tailwind is by far my favorite for the long haul right now. Okay, so the H3 tag, I'm going to go ahead and customize this. We're going to say the class name equals, and this is going to be a bit bigger. So I'm going to say text 4XL. Okay. Margin bottom of 3 and a width of 64. And you can see now, things just start to come together. The P tag looks so great as it is. The button text, let's go ahead and make that nice little black button. So here we're going to say text should be small. Okay. We're going to make the text white, make the text white. And then we're going to say, so text white. And then we'll say BG gray 900. Okay, there we go. You see we get a nice little background there. So we're going to make a padding X of 4, a padding Y of 2, a rounded large, so that way it's not so tight on the corners. And a margin top to separate it, 5. Boom. You see how it's crazy, right? You get so much power when you use Tailwind, and it's just really fast as well. You can get all of this beautiful, it's really, really is nice. Use Tailwind. So there you go. That looks pretty good. Okay, and I think that's actually the LargeCard section done, right? And you see how it, oh, oops, I'm actually resizing the wrong thing. It actually looks perfect, whatever size we have, and then the max width kicks in for this, for the overall section. Looks really good, okay? Looks really, really good. So look at that, guys. Already, we've done this in just 2 hours. 2 hours, right? And it's already implementing static, generation for the data. It's actually fetching this on the server beforehand, and then it's going ahead and preparing the page, and then it's delivering it to React. So this is where, Angular and all those things, like this is where Next.js blows it out of the bag. So React was already amazing as it is, but Next.js just kills it when you combine it in, because you have all this additional power. You're only delivering what the user needs, hence why it's so quick. It's just crazy. Really powerful, really awesome. Really nice stuff. Aldo, what's up, dude? Good to see you in here. Awesome platinum member in the diamond, in the Papa fam. Awesome to have you here, man. So the next final part of the puzzle is the footer, right? The footer we're going to go ahead and implement. It's going to be actually pretty fun. Now, if you found it quite cool so far, you're going to find the footer a breeze, right? So stick with me. We are almost there. And then you guys are going to have your chance to go ahead and submit your homework, get those builds in, and start getting those points, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our index file. Okay, so I'm going to pop this in like so. Go to our index file, and then I'm going to go underneath the main. And I'm just going to say underneath the main contents, that's where I'll have the footer. I'm going to create a footer component, footer.js underscore RFCE for our boilerplate code. Hit save, so that way the file actually exists. Go back here, enter end of the text, control spacebar to get a nice little import shortcut. That imports footer at the top of the page, right? Dev Mentor Live says, I teach Next.js too. It's amazing. It's basically Ruby on Rails for JavaScript and React. It's really honestly powerful. It's awesome. He goes, you did a bang up job on recreating this time, top content. Thank you so much, dude. And I appreciate you for being an awesome member. If anyone else wants to join the YouTube membership, then feel free. You get a nice little, tag next to your name. I can see your chat really easily, and you're going to get custom emotes and everything as well. So it's going to be awesome. And yeah, thank you for supporting the channel. So at this point, we've got the footer coming in. So the footer, now we're going to go ahead and style it up. Okay, almost there. Now the footer I have hard coded, so it'll be super simple for you guys to go ahead and follow along. This is going to consist of a bunch of different sections. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And each one is going to basically resemble. So in this case, we've just got it sort of, very simply stacking up in that case. Otherwise, it'll be a 4-column layout. There's going to be 4 divs, and then we're going to go ahead and apply things to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's make it super simple to go ahead and do that. So at this point, we're going to go to our div, and then we're going to go ahead and say, wait for it. So there you go. That's why it's recording out. So we're going to say div. And now I want to say, okay, so for the div, we're going to have 5 divs. Okay, so there's actually a trick here. So let's say we got rid of all of this, and we just put a parentheses. So we want to say div, and there should be times by, so we're going to have a div with a div inside of it times by 5. There you go. Boom. We get 5 divs. Little shortcut. Right. Inside the first divs, we've got the first div, which is the first column, second div, third div, fourth div. Right. I think that's the way. Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. Is what it is. So at the top, we're going to have an H5. And this one, we're going to say is going to be the about section. Right, so you see the about, and that's going to be resembling this, and then you've got community host support. So I'm going to do 1, and then I'm going to copy the values in, and it's going to, and then you guys can feel free to copy that. We're going to do 5 paddings, sort of paragraphs, sorry, and for each one I'm going to have a bit of text in. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in like so. All right, so we go ahead and hit save, and you see how they stack up on top of each other. Now for the H5 tags in every single one, we're going to give it a class name of font bold. Okay. So there you go, it has a little bold look to it. And then for the class around it, the container that we're surrounding it with, we're going to say a space along the y-axis of 3 or 4 is better actually here. And then you can see it spaces out the y components or sort of elements underneath it. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say text should be extra small, text should be gray, and it should be 800. Okay, so 800, shade of 800, should be quite dark, right? So that's how we get this look and feel to it. Looks really nice already. Right, so I'm going to repeat that a few times over for the other sections, and this is where you can feel free to just copy them out. So these ones right here, I'm going to replace with the contents like so. So obviously at that point you could pause, just copy out if you want, and then you can go ahead and do it. And I've just added a few Easter eggs in there. This is not a real site. It's a pretty awesome clone. right? And then we can go ahead and see. Now it stacks up by default. It's a block, right? It's block elements. So what we could do now is we can go ahead and go to the overall div and we can apply some styling here. So class name equals, and we're going to make it a grid system. We're going to say on the mobile view, I want it to be a columns by one. So it's going to be one column grid system. But when you hit the medium breakpoint, then I want to get to the bigger columns and split it into 4. Okay. So on the medium breakpoint, then we hit into 4 column territory. So now you can see we hit the medium. See that, guys? It goes into the medium view and then it goes ahead and splits into 4 columns like so, right? So that's quite neat when it works like that. But then we've got this spacing issue. So how do we fix all of the spacing stuff right now? The spacing issue can be fixed with the following. So we're going to say space along the y-axis of 10. But the reason that we're actually going to use something cool here called gap y10, and then that actually goes ahead and space it out. In this case, we use it's great. We use space. It doesn't always support. I would say space y-axis of 10, and then in here we're going to go ahead and say padding on the x-axis of 32, padding on the y-axis of 14. Hit save. Okay, and there you go. And then it kind of spreads into the middle, which is a lot nicer. We're going to give the background a gray, so BG gray 100. And then you go, it looks really nice, right? BG gray, text gray of 600, text gray of 600. There we go. Nice. Cool stuff, guys. All right. So at this point, look at that. Looks pretty cool. Now you can see this little issue here. Now this is a problem that happens when you're using space over gap. Gap is an awesome feature, but it's not always supported in Safari. So I recommend using gap, to be honest, because then you don't get the first element that gets spaced up. So gap and space, that's the difference. So you can see, look at that, guys. Looks really clean, right? And it goes ahead and sizes out as we need it. I mean, I think that was damn powerful, guys. We're literally we're few likes away from 1,000. Let's cut 1,000 before we wrap up on today's build. Right, I'm going to go through all the features that we have done so far. So far, guys, this is the build that we've actually coded today, and this is the final finished build. So you can see we're pretty much done for the front end portion of this build. Looks absolutely incredible. We've got lovely little elements here. We've got lovely little animations styled, everything looks awesome. Look at these transitions. They ease out perfectly. Boom. Beautiful, silky smooth transitions. Going down here, we can go ahead and resize, and we have a max width that gets applied. Even the way the picture changes, everything is responsive. We get this nice scrollable aspect looking really beautiful here. The grid element changes here. It's dynamic and responsive. Fits the screen as it looks good. And look at that hero. Oh, just so clean. All in 2 hours. We did all of this in 2 hours. So if you enjoyed it, smash the thumbs up button, because this is your homework. This is going to be your homework for day 2 of the 5-day Airbnb challenge. Yes, your homework is going to be to literally go ahead and build this out, right? Build this out, get your application working, and then we're going to deploy it to Vercel. So the final step right now is to deploy to Vercel so that you get a URL that you can submit on your homework. So what we're going to do now, guys, is you're going to go over to your GitHub, okay? You're going to log into GitHub. If you haven't got an account on GitHub, create one. You need a GitHub account. It's so useful. You're going to create new repository, right? You're going to go down here and then you're going to click on, and let's just type in this case, I'm going to do Airbnb YouTube demo. So for you guys, I'm just going to call it a demo, okay? Now I'm going to make it a private repo, so that way, it's not accessible to everyone. You guys can feel free to do the same. Create repo. Now, it's going to be a fresh repository, which means you can go ahead and copy this line down here, copy it. Go back to your code editor. And what we're essentially doing right now is we're going to push our code to GitHub. GitHub is a place where we have repositories, repos they're called. This is where code lives, okay? So what we can pretty much do is we can store our code on GitHub, and then with Vercel, we can connect our GitHub account, and then we can deploy that project. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Command J to open up our project. Go down to the second terminal, and then we're going to go ahead and say paste. So we're going to paste that command that we just had previously from our GitHub. So this one here, we're going to copy it, paste. There we go. And now what you want to do is git add all. So dot git add dot, and this will add all of your files to your git push. We call it a commit, right? We're gonna commit all of these files to a sort of a change request for our repo. So we're gonna commit it, and then we're gonna push it so it updates the repo. Right, so I'm gonna do git status, and you should see green. Nice. If you see red, just do git add all again, and you're good to go. At this point, we're gonna say git push, and you should get this magic command. You're gonna copy that, paste it, and you should see a push. Right, at this point, what you want to do is go back to your GitHub and refresh, and you should see your code just got pushed into your project. Okay, so this is really nice. At this point, actually, we just pushed the initial thing. We didn't actually commit. So if I do git status, check this out. Look, still we didn't push it. So what we actually need to do is we need to say git commit -m, and we need to say, okay, let's call it day one build. So but we just pushed in the old code, so we're gonna say day one build, and now we do a git push. And now if I refresh, you should see it doesn't say 2 hours, it should say 11 seconds. There we go. Nice, right? So check this out. So we've got all of this stuff happening down here. And again, if you get caught at any point with React being too complicated or anything like that, remember, I have a free React Basics class down in the description. Go ahead and check it out on Skillshare. You get free 1 month free. Go ahead and check that one out. It will help you out as well. If you haven't already, first link in the description, sign up to day 5 of the challenge for that free ebook. Okay, so we've gone ahead and pushed it to our GitHub. The next step is to go ahead and go to Vercel. So I'm going to go to Vercel.com. Vercel, we basically create an account. You then want to go ahead and connect your GitHub repo. It's very simple to do so. Okay, now what we're going to do, oh, Kenya's in the house. Thank you so much, Elvis. Appreciate it, dude. We're going to click on new project. And I've actually connected my Git repo already. It's very simple to do so. They have a ton of instructions. All you need to do is connect your Git repo. And then you see 59 seconds ago, we just pushed to this one. I'm going to click import. Okay. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and click on skip for the name. And then we have this. Now you can see it automatically detects that it's a Next.js project. We're going to leave all of this pretty much as it is. We're going to click deploy. And this is going to go ahead and deploy the application to a custom URL that Vercel provides for us. Now, this is going to allow you guys to go ahead and actually showcase your app to me, so that way we can mark it, we can see it, and also you can actually host it on that portfolio that you made yesterday. Yes, I have given you in 2 days already a digital portfolio and already a piece of work that you can go ahead and showcase on it. If this isn't showing you guys that you can be successful as a developer, you can get your foot in the door and start your journey and build your portfolio, we're going to crush it, guys. So keep on going, okay? It's going to go ahead and build in Airbnb, in Vercel. It's going to build our Airbnb, yeah? And then you can say, congratulations, you just deployed a new project to Vercel. And then, hey, you get this nice confetti, and then you can click this, and you'll have a beautiful little link. So it gives you a nice deployment. And they also got these bunch of other domains. But the point is, you want to click on any of these, click on visit, and you should be able to go to your actual website. So I want you to copy one of these. You know, you get a ton of different ones if you want. You see if you highlight over it, it's got a bunch of them. But copy one of these URLs. This URL is basically going to be how I can check your homework. Right? You're going to keep on adding it, and eventually that URL is going to be also the one that you link on your resume or portfolio. Okay, it's completely free to do that. So what we do now is you go to the link in the description for day 2 homework. And if you are part of the Facebook group, it's also going to be in the guide section. Then what you're going to do is you'll reach this page. You're going to have to follow all of these steps. So register for the challenge. Make sure you've done that. Register for the last day reveal. You don't want to miss it, guys. Register for it. Facebook group, all that good stuff. But this is where the magic happens. Put your name, your email address, and you want to pop that link in like so. Okay. If you completed it perfectly, do fully complete. If you had a bit of problems, write partial complete. It's okay. I'd love to check them through anyway. Full name, email, hit submit, and boom, your homework is going to be submitted and it's golden. That's as simple as it gets, guys. You're going to be able to build this incredible application that we went ahead and built today. Tomorrow, we're going to continue. We're going to go ahead and extend this so that way you can go and actually type into the search bar and you'll get a nice drop down. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and see if I've got my my actual old one that I can show you, because that should actually be able to help you guys out. Let me see if I've got it. and then you guys can actually see for yourself what is actually going to happen, right, when you get it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and see if on my Vercel right now, I just deployed it a second ago before I went live. I'm going to go to my projects, my previous build, and I'm going to show you guys. There we go. Boom. Right. So we're going to go ahead and build this tomorrow. So when you type in, you get a lovely, beautiful date picker. We go ahead and enter some information. So you're going to learn all about state tomorrow. We learned about props and static site generation, React, all that good stuff, Tailwind CSS, all today. And tomorrow we're going to learn about state in a component, for example, the calendar. We're going to go ahead and pop in some information. Then we're going to server-side render. So today we did static rendering. We're going to do server-side render. Hit search. We're going to implement this beautiful loading state. And then it's going to server render. So we're not going to build the map tomorrow. That's going to be the next day. We're going to build this search page results and all of that functionality. This is all going to be server-side rendered. It's all going to be, you know, amazing and powerful. You're going to see how you can actually append it. You see all that information we put, it actually gets put into the search bar. So you can share the link to someone else. They get the exact same search page results. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun, guys. Papa Fam, if you are excited to get your homework done, comment right now saying, I'm excited for this homework and I'm going to get it done. Comment right now. Let's get this energy up. Natasha says, thanks. That was an intense coding session. Mohib says, cool stuff, dude. We've got, let's go through. We've got Vishnu says, can I submit the homework tomorrow? Yes, dude. Remember, you've actually got until day 5 to submit it. Make sure you do. Dev Mental Lives, they're saying, if you ever want to do a collab, I can show you the Pub Fam how to build a calendar app using React and functional programming. Oh, nice. We've even got some collabs happening in the future, guys. That's incredible. Rakesh says he's excited for tomorrow, the search functionality. Lacan says, thank you. You're welcome, dude. This is going to be awesome, guys. As mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the APIs that you're going to need for this build today. So these are going to be the fetches that you're going to need to make. And you can pretty much go ahead and rewatch this out. Remember, rewatch the entire video. It's going to be directly up straight away. I'm going to be adding timestamps and everything good and golden like that. So do not worry. Everything's going to be awesome. This is your boy, Papa React. Sign up. First link in the description. Day 5. Get that free ebook. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. I'm going to go over training like this to times 10 on that day. Tomorrow's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Submit your homework. Help people out. Be supportive. Encourage others to kill it. We are literally 12 likes away from 1,000. This is your boy, guys, and we are going to go ahead, and everything, by the way, is in the description. All the links, everything, Facebook group, help each other out. I'm going to end it again on our Papa Fam anthem, as I always do. This is what we built today, day 2 of the Airbnb challenge. It's all going to be in a playlist, so you guys can feel free to go ahead. This is what we built. Sorry, where is it gone? This is what we built today. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. And I look forward to seeing everyone in day 3 of the Airbnb challenge. We just hit 1,000 likes to end that off. Couldn't end any better. I'll see you all for day 3 of the 5-day Airbnb ReactJS NextJS challenge. Papa Fam, go ahead, kill the energy, get your homework in, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.